Hello, everybody. Welcome. How is it going? Welcome back to the tavern. I don't know why that keeps playing in the background, that little fire loop. What is up? We're waiting for Maanyaa to connect. We don't know what technical issue. There's been some technical issues today. Because, of course, on the very first tavern, we have to have technical issues. Landon, check. Can we hear you?
Yes, I can hear you, and can you hear me?
We can hear you. You
You're
sound a little
quiet.
far away, a little
Yeah.
quiet. But, yeah, other than that.
Let's see what it's doing.
It sounds like it's not
Um,
using the microphone that I can see. It sounds like it's using a
is
different
is
microphone.
Yep.
is this the microphone?
Yep.
Yes.
That's the microphone. It's right in front of me.
Hmm.
Wacky.
Um, is this something boosted on your end? I mean, I had a video session with somebody else who was just fine. So
I mean, I can turn you up. It's not a big deal for me.
Now, I told my audience, Chesh, that this was a pub and not a tavern. So did I lie to them?
No, I think we've upgraded. So
Okay.
we used to do the show over on my channel before as sort of like a test run, as getting things working, yada 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 yada. And so now we have officially moved it over to Debate Hub, and we are now Debate Pub because it matches the branding and all of that fun stuff. But it'll ultimately be the same show. Today we're not going to be doing a lightning round though. That is just because this is going to be a little bit of a longer one because we have a lot to talk about. 2025 is a hell of a time. Absolutely a hell of a time. But how was everybody's Let's start with like the roundup of 2024. Dapper, what was like a highlight of 2024? Either in news or whatever. What are you thinking? How do you feel about 2024 in general?
Um, Disappointed.
Disappointed? Was 2024
Yeah.
just disappointing? Oh man.
I mean, overall, yeah. Yeah.
Elaborate, yes.
I mean, I'm not sure how much I can elaborate without being investigated by law enforcement.
Uh-oh. I guess 2025 is like that, isn't it? Landon, what are
I
you
mean,
thinking?
yeah.
well, without going into specifics, because I do have a rant. 2024 was was more of what I made it than what it did to me in society. You might regard that I have decided to bring along a fine bottle of Whistle Pig, small batch rye, aged 10 years. Do the 10 year stuff because I think the longer stuff doesn't is over the top in price. Anyway, but yes, it
Mm.
had for what I did, it had some marvelous travels. It had some wonderful things that I did. A lot of intense challenges and a lot of frightening sort of things. Particularly construction of this space, which is I apologize. Sorry to remark Canada. For it being echoey here. We have not yet put up the artwork and other things. We're getting this garret place
Yeah.
settled. But as you can see over here, you have a nice whiteboard or plastic behind it, and there's even that's not a kitchen back there. So we don't
Definitely
know
not
how
a
to have a
kitchen.
kitchen.
Definitely not a wet
So that's
bar.
yeah. Just as this is not a tavern, right? Or pub.
Well, yeah, now it's a
So
pub.
Yeah, it's a pub now.
And it's got a name and everything.
yeah, but yes, I'll reserve specifics for a rant that I have been doing because I understand some things happen between our last time we met and this time, and when I went off to Nigeria and I did vote, but apparently things happened while I was gone.
Things
That's putting it
happened.
mildly.
Allegedly, things happened. Allegedly, things have been going on, and there's been talks and such, and something about Greenland. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something like that. But yes, uh, I will tell you that Lagos, Nigeria was a very intense place, full of wonderful art, culture, poetry, theater, and people that were pretty amazing. But it is an intense city. Uh, Imagine something about the size of Manhattan with about twice, three times the density of
That's
stuff
a lot.
in intense.
That
But
is a
but
lot.
the level of art, the level of music, the level of jazz, the level of stuff is just extraordinary.
The fun stuff about this. So I think that there's a good point in the chat that said the best part about 2024 was Trump not being president, and I think that's pretty good. I think Elon Musk has had a hell of a year.
I mean, that's true in multiple ways.
Constantly bashing his face into the ground over and over and over again in such a way that is considerably embarrassing. I've got somebody named Chance in the chat that is asking, how does one get onto these discussion debates and what platform? This is, well, we're streaming to YouTube, obviously, but this is currently vMix, so if you're wondering about the production, that's what that is. And if you want to get on to discuss something, really all you have to do is contact me either in the comment section down below about what you want to talk about and who you want to talk about it with, and then, or you can get a hold of me via email, which is just the email that's associated with the YouTube, so you just have to go to my About page, it should be right there. But yeah,
Chess knows lots of interesting people, and if you're interested, connect with her, and she might put you on and give you a chance to talk. But beware, you are connecting with a goblin.
This is true. Be aware. Be aware. Knowing is half the battle. But do you guys have like a favorite news thing that happened this year of 2024 before we get to 2025? Because we're gonna have to 2025 is gonna need a toll-on breakdown, and it's only January.
Yeah, go ahead, Dapper, and then I'll give you.
I think the lunar flyby was probably my favorite thing that happened in 2024.
Yeah.
That was really cool. It's the first time that the U.S. has launched anything to the far side of the moon in quite a while. It was, a proof of concept for some more manned flights to the moon. So there's a downside, because I don't think that Starship is ever going to land on the moon, which means that because, the guy who owns SpaceX is now the vizier of the second king of the Kingdom of Central North America. I don't think that there's going to be any manned space flights to the moon for like a decade or more anymore. I think that got crushed.
Yeah.
So, but still, the actual flyby itself was very, very, very cool. And there was great footage that came out of it. And yeah, it was great.
So the person that sometimes or the entity is sometimes referred to as Madame Pele.
Yes.
Started an amazing dance on Christmas Eve, and in fact, it restarted again this morning, and it's right now. The image is a little bit foggy, but I'm referring to the Kilo volcano has had some spectacular eruptions started, and it's in the Halemaumau pit, so it's not bothering anyone. It's a really great tourism thing. You can get very safely close to seeing this with your own eyes. And believe me, the pictures that you might see on the volcano show or online are pale in comparison to actually being there and seeing it, or at night with the glow and so forth. She's put
absolutely
on a fantastic thing, and hopefully we will have, when Maanyaa returns, because the volcano show is also part Maanyaa, when she returns from her current activities, we'll have a chance to talk about it. But I would say that's one of the things.
The next volcano show should be the 7th of February. Maanyaa should be finished setting up by then. I know she's struggling a little bit with her setup, and she's still working on it. But we should be good by then. So that'll be when the next when the next volcano watch is. But if you want to catch up on the volcano watches and kind of don't know what we've been up to, there's a whole playlist on this channel right now. You can go binge watch all of them. If you want to learn about volcanoes, Landon's a good person to learn from.
And as well as Chesh and Maanyaa. So Chesh, what about you? What do you regard non-political?
My favorite non-political thing that happened in the year of our Lord 2024 was going to court in Kansas. That is still my It was.
What did you go to court for? Were you a naughty person?
No, I was a very good goblin being a helper. I got caught up because some idiot on the internet decided to give me their harassment paperwork where they were harassing somebody, and unprompted she decided to send me this paperwork, which then ended up with me being a witness, and the reason she sent me the paperwork was to make it so I wouldn't be a witness. It was weird. It was very weird. But it was fun. It was educational. It was like parts of it weren't that fun, but other parts of it were fantastically fun. Like, I got to meet a couple of people that were lovely, lovely, lovely people. I got to learn some things. I got to hang out. I got to freak everybody out by asking for fresh French fries because the French fries we got were burnt, and everybody was like, "Do you just say that?" I'm like, "They're French fries. Why is this weird?" But it's a very interesting, entertaining time with a lot of, like... But I think that's my favorite thing I did. I had a good vacation while I was on vacation. That was nice. Like my 1 week that I take off every year. And I go to the cottage, and that was lovely. And this Christmas season and winter has been quite nice. Puck did get his cancer, and that got taken care of. So he just got back from the vet. He was at the vet on Wednesday. And it was just to get his regular shots. And he got his... They just did like a regular blood test and check, and he's got the all clear, so we're good to go. The next time the vet expects to see him is a year from now, and he is turning 13 this year.
Wow.
In March. He turns 13. So,
by the way,
boy.
As a point of order, so Maanyaa is presenting the same situation that I got when I used Chrome, and the only reason I'm here is I abandoned Chrome and I'm using Safari. There may be Chrome and
try Firefox.
Yes. Try
I'm
that.
here on
I don't know
Chrome.
if she can hear it or not.
Chrome works for Dapper.
Opera didn't work.
Well, yeah, Brave does not work. Try. I'll yell at Maanyaa. Try.
So personally for me, one of the things that happened is the start of the 40th International Obfuscated C Code Contest. This IOCCC is the internet's oldest contest. There, it's been going. We're having our 28th time and 40th anniversary. It just started at the end of this year. We've worked on a lot to be able to get going forward. It'll be an interesting challenge for IOCC 28 because people will no doubt make use of machine learning and natural language models in developing code. By the way, we have allowed people to use any tool they want to create their code, and there are some people who, when they win, oftentimes they'll post under a pseudonym. There have been people who are actually quite well not only known for so-called AI, who were creating code that has won in previous years. So we've had a long tradition of machine-assisted code stuff with people, but it'll be fun to see what happens this year. I did have an interesting experience with Google's internal system in typing in weird code and seeing what it thought about it. At one point, I did a thing, if you know C, I said, I wanted to say, type in some code and see if I can figure out what it does. So I said, #, hashtag include, quote, /dev/null, which if you're in Unix people, it's basically, I said, include the device that has no content. And it responded back saying, this looks like code that would probably be better for the obfuscated C code contest because you're trying to open a device that doesn't exist. And I corrected him saying it does exist. He said, you're right. I apologize, it does exist, but there's nothing involved. There's nothing there to do. So we had an interesting time. So anyway, that's been my...
Arcane Season 2 came out. Hell
Yes.
yeah, that was amazing. Absolutely freaking awesome. So for anybody who is a fan of either League of Legends or just good storytelling, animation, music, that was fantastic. That came out. Banger. I know people are a little bit overwhelmed by it. Reasonably so. I do not recommend binge watching it, especially if it's your first go through. Watch it like one episode at a time. Don't watch more than one episode a day because there's going to be a lot to process, and do not be surprised if you have to watch an episode more than once. But good. The music. Mwah. 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 Yeah. Fantastic.
So Parker Space Probe survived even a closer encounter with the sun. I think it reached something like 430,000 kilometers per hour speed. It remains the fastest large scale object that people ever created, ever made. We've had a wonderful development with the James Webb Telescope in some amazing details of things from distant galaxies to looking at Neptune and so forth and everything in between. The sun has had some significant coronal mass ejections with greatest auroras. Hi, Mike.
Mikey made it.
By
Hi,
the way,
Mikey.
Hi, Mikey.
You and I are supposed to connect and chat because I have a feeling we have some things to talk about. So please contact me. Let's chat. Mikey, if you know Landon and that sort of thing, he does really good stuff. So check out his content.
It's probing time 666 to Dapper said Dino is tricking us. That full face bike helmet could never fit on that big head. There I debunked the legend. So there. Neener.
So there is actually one thing that I did forget in terms of favorite things that happened last year, which is weird because it was very recent, which is to say that in something that everyone expected, but that was fun anyway, the sun was observed not setting in Antarctica from about 80 degrees south latitude. Which shouldn't at all be a thing. It shouldn't be news at all because it happens.
By the way, I have
year.
frequently been to that camp at Union Glacier. It's usually one of the ways I go to South America to get to the South Pole. It's a wonderful place, and I highly encourage you if you have the funds to go and visit.
Can I show you guys something really funny real quick?
Please.
Yeah.
Just because I think you guys would find it amusing. Hold on, look, check this out. I want to see if I can show it to you easily. Poor Maanyaa is trying to get in here, and if you look, she's just look at the screen.
Yes. Poor Maanyaa. She'll get here eventually.
She'll figure it out. We believe.
By the way, we had a really nice comment. C2003A3 that was actually reach visible eye capability, not up here in the far Pacific Northwest because it's clouds, but it was actually a pretty good comment. We had two coronal mass ejections with auroras that probably are as good as I've ever seen in my life. That were there. We've had some amazing information from like, for example, Neptune and images of Neptune in looking at its true color, because Uranus and Neptune are mostly visited by the Voyager probes, but we now have things that are giving us from Earth better information. Voyager came back again, although it's on its last legs. I mean, it was only supposed to last a couple of years, and it's out there really far. The nuclear battery is getting so low that now some of the transistors don't have enough voltage to transition at some point.
Don't worry. I'm sure at some point it will find the wormhole and then find the world full of machines so that they can rebuild it into a gigantic solar system scale spacecraft that will go explore the Earth and then threaten the survival of all life in the galaxy later.
Unless the Klingons blow it up first. Because
they tried that. It did not work well.
In 2024, we did start Lexington. That's also a thing that happened.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and look, I'm having a lot of fun with Star Trek Lexington. We've got this episode and then 3 more, and then it's over, and we're going to take a quick break, probably for a few weeks, and then we're going to be back with Star Trek Endurance as soon as we've had a little break, and also as soon as someone gets me the art I need.
Excuse you.
Can I advertise? Give your advertisement for your U.S. Lexington show.
Yeah,
it is a delightful show. One thing, you don't have to watch it in order. Each show is on its own thing. Although the crew and the staff have evolved, you can sort of watch it in any order. Think of it sort of like D&D with fewer goblins and more, but people who the people on the show
one goblin
know how to role play.
At least one goblin, and I feel like the Ferengi probably count as goblins.
Yes,
But we haven't encountered Ferengi yet because they're not part of the species known to Starfleet yet. So we have to wait till next
next
So,
season.
so it's not sort of like a Tolkienish fantasy thing. It's a Star Trek universe. So things are quite positive, and the crew I think has melded together pretty well. They have turned into their own set of memes. So check it out, folks.
We got a question for Landon in the chat that's asking, could a direct hit from a large coronal ejection affect weather?
You could probably detect it, but from the point of view of the amount of energy that is received on the ground, roughly a kilowatt per square meter, coronal mass ejections are very small compared to that total amount of energy. They do have much more effect in space, near space. So if you were up in low Earth orbit or satellites up there, you're going to be quite affected, be negatively impacted. Or should you be on one of Space Cairns' Voyagers out there in space, you could get really unhappy. But here down on Earth, the amount of the variance that you get from the solar output during coronal mass ejection. Remember, coronal mass ejection is just a matter of the magnetic material conspired to throw out a lot of mass out there, and so we get a particle streams that, like a ship going through the water, hits a bow shock, comes around and hits the back. So people who see let's say the Northern Lights, near midnight, the sun's out of the way, the wind from the sun has been bent around Earth's magnetosphere and come back and hit us in the back. So yeah, but in terms of amount of energy it puts into the atmosphere, it's relatively low. But the show is pretty good. Now, even a Carrington-like event, it doesn't really, it impacts charge and circuitry, but not to a significant degree. In that sense.
Is Maanyaa actually here or no?
Chesh is.
You're muted, Chesh.
She's not here yet, so I put a picture up.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're bouncing here. I think of other things. Well, some other things that happened that we enjoyed during There's been some interesting breakthrough in fusion this year. In 2024.
Yeah, they say that every year. I'm still skeptical.
I mean, I understand it is skeptical there. I will say, however, that I think quantum computing will achieve true supremacy after fusion achieves commercial success.
Quantum computing, a few decades from now, forever.
Quantum computing still, when they say, it's going to break the internet and crack all security and so forth, quantum computing still has not been able to, its record factorization, breaking a number to particle primes, is still small enough that in your head you can factor it yourself, right? That's how good it is in factoring. It's very important research, just like fusion is, but it's got a ways to go. But yes, fusion is a pretty quantum fusion. There's some interesting progress being made.
I believe that Mark has debunked its probing time 666, Nathan Oakley's daddy. I found a flaw in your helmet argument. If Dapper compresses himself into his helmet suit, he could wear the helmet.
Yeah.
Human suit, I think, is what it meant there.
Human suit, sorry.
We should also say that in Botswana, they uncovered a 2,492 carat diamond. Which is the second largest stone ever found. It was actually found by a Canadian firm, believe it or not. So there you go. And such. There's been some interesting stuff in terms of more imaging of regions around black holes. It was pretty good.
Yeah, is there like a favorite or a most interesting quote unquote that you guys think is like the best scientific advancement of 2024 so far? I shouldn't say so far. I guess we're in 2025 now.
Of 2024.
I mean, AI has had a big boom.
Yeah, but that just means that my computer lies to me now. I don't see how that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I never really wanted my computer to just make shit up that isn't true and then tell it to me very confidently with a persuasive tone. Like, that was never what I wanted out of my computer. Like, remember back when we were like, oh yeah, when we get all these robots and AI and stuff, then they'll do like janitor work and construction work, and we'll all be free to do like poetry and art and music. And instead, the AI just lies to people, makes shitty art and poetry and music that people seem to like for some reason, and then the rest of us are just stuck doing the actual manual labor jobs that we were hoping the robots would free us from in the first place. It's the exact opposite of how this was supposed to work. And I'm not okay with that.
I feel like the social contract of what was expected when we used our tax dollars to help enable these projects and enable this scientific advancement has been like completely not held up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, in chemistry, they made their first precision measurement of radium monofluoride. A reactive molecule, and they're able to get useful data. So people have been improving on their ability to deal with exotic compounds. I think some great improvements have been made in clocks. And we seem to be on the verge, I think probably scientifically, on the verge of having a clock based upon the nucleus, whose stability is going to be like 3 orders of magnitude better than the best atomic fountains and that sort of thing. And that's going to give us
finally get a measurement of the one-way speed of light.
Yes, well, that's the universe contriving to troll us.
Yeah.
But seriously, you'll be able to look at things like do finer measurements on the finer stress constant, to see this constant, charge mass ratio, speed of light, things like that. Having clocks that have with greater precision, and the fact that these things can be solid, right? You can build a solid state nuclear clock, which could go on a space probe, is also very important. So that's something to consider as a yay.
Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just calling Maanyaa a maniac.
Yes, but Maanyaa is definitely worth waiting for.
She is certainly trying. She is certainly trying. Oh God, I think that 2024 has been like overall an interesting year, but I feel like 2024 has an overall vibe of just kind of disappointment. Like people were hoping for the best and trying to have conversations, and it's just like just quite get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could.
Overall vibe.
I would say probably the biggest scientific achievement is the completion of the large survey, the LSST camera. Right, this camera is the world's largest camera. It has a lens on it that's about 1.6 meters across.
Whoa!
A clear. So it's part of the Vera Rubin telescope that's going to scan the sky every 3 nights to a very, very, very deep level. This 3,200,000,000 pixel camera has a sensitivity far, far, far beyond what your cell phone does, let alone even some of the best observatories. And this camera that was developed at Stanford Lunar Accelerator Group is going to give us unprecedented views of the world, of our universe, right? And it does it in incredible detail. The petabytes of data that's going to come off of this thing is going to end up building this archive that people can mine. So instead of looking through the telescope to see something, you data mine in this huge repository of things to see things like objects that pass in front of a star, and do micro lensing to finding remote moons of Jupiter and Saturn, to most distant galaxies, and all kinds of other stuff like that. It's going to be Oh, fantastic! What comes through? So that's going to be a
If
great achievement.
2024 is the year of broken dreams where we all fell asleep, 2025 is gonna be the year of nightmares. Is that what?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, a little bit.
I think it's about 3 cheshes and wide. Is that
It's
fair to say?
1.5 meters tall is taller than Chesh. It is.
Yeah.
I am very small. I am a small little guy.
She
What,
actually- she
Maanyaa?
actually
God,
is-
for fuck's sakes, why are you still using Chrome? I'm gonna yell at you. Get off Chrome, you monkey.
But yeah, actually, I understand that Chesh in person is larger than life.
Yeah, it's the only way she's larger than life.
I'm just gonna
Otherwise, she's very, very
screenshot
small.
myself telling her to try Firefox or Explorer, and then I'm gonna copy paste spam it at her for a second. Hold on.
And of course, there was the total solar eclipse.
Yes, that happened.
That was there. That was
Yeah.
fun. 4 minute plus. That was very good. It was I had a wonderful time. Went into the Texas region and had a wonderful eclipse experience there. One of the first times I didn't actually have an experiment. I just sat back and enjoyed.
Icarus says, I thought Canada was using the metric system. How much is a Chesh in centimeters? Okay, so this is the fun part about Canada, and Dapper and I were just talking about this
Yeah, we
before
were.
we got on. Canada got itself stuck in the middle, as it usually tends to do, between America and literally everybody else. So, Canada, if you're talking about height, so if you're looking at things vertically, generally you're using the imperial system, particularly like the height of an individual. Do never buy a cookbook or a baking book from Canada. Don't do it. It will have ounces, fluid ounces, grams, cups, teaspoons, a pinch. It's chaos. Absolute chaos.
I visited a restaurant in British Columbia a couple days ago because I fear there may be some reason why I'm having a harder time crossing the border. And outside this restaurant, they had a warning about height going into a garage that was in feet.
Yep.
And they listed a width in meters.
Mm-hmm.
See,
So it's right.
Kip, right there.
Heights are in imperial.
Can confirm. See?
Yep.
At least, but at least we're not using washing machines and deer. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Or
it's
half
true,
giraffes.
but I should say. Hold on a second. I should go and get my because I have a feeling we're going to talk about politics. So
yeah.
Hold on a moment. While I'm waiting here, I'll be right back.
Do you have that feeling, Landon? What would ever have given you that idea?
Yeah, it's not like this is a news and politics show. Dapper, what are you drinking? We didn't talk about that. Landon shared his, but we didn't share ours.
I'm drinking a martini. Just a martini.
Nice.
It's got gin. It's got vermouth. It's got an olive. The olive is stuffed with blue cheese.
Ooh.
So later on, I'll have a gin-soaked blue cheesy olive.
I gotta kill Kenny.
Nice.
I'm just drinking that. But yeah, so people are discussing like Chrome versus Firefox or Explorer. So fun fact, Dapper got on with Chrome, no problem. We've never had problems with Chrome before. Chrome always worked perfectly fine, so that's what all of us would jump to. Landon couldn't get on with Chrome, so he switched to Safari. That worked. Maanyaa has not arrived, and she's been trying Chrome and it's not working for her, so nice hat. Should we get a zoom in on that hat?
Yes, we
Yes.
should. And by the way, this says sorry, and over here it says trademark Canada. So you have to say
TM.
sorry, TM Canada, right? And interesting enough, people that did this. The question is, could you trademark this phrase? Sorry, trademark Canada. Which is interesting because you can't trademark a trademark.
Right.
You can't trademark sorry. You can't but can you trademark the phrase sorry, trademark Canada? So
I think you probably
the
could.
result of the meme that's been developed
Yeah.
in 2024 is when you say sorry and you're not Canadian, you say sorry, trademark Canada. Not that Star Canada is sorry, but I can tell you that when I wear this hat in Canada or in places near the border where Canadians are, they'll say nice toque, and I say yep, and they get it. If I wear this in other places, people say, "What are you sorry about?" And I say it's a Canadian thing, that sort of thing. But yeah,
I have one, it's a pink one that's like, it doesn't have the poof on the top, it's just like a regular like beanie styled toque. It's a thin one. And it's got a D20 on it with a 1 and it just says, "Oh shit."
Nice.
Nice. So yeah, but I'd say I think by the way, Dr. Kip, so we're actually we're quite, I think we're somewhat near each other, given if I guess where you are, relatively speaking on the planet. Yes, well, it's I do not claim to have the proper Canadian pronunciation. I don't try to pass myself off as Canadian. On the other hand, I probably I might know more about Canada than some Canadians do.
Probably. We have ignorant people in Canada.
Yeah, if your just goal is I know more about Canada than like the dumbest of all Canadians, I think a lot of people reach that.
You don't even have to go that far. You could just say, well, if you want to say, I think I know some things about Canada more than some Canadians, you can say, yes, there are 2-year-olds in Canada.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
That being said, as I say, I think it's important to know your neighbors, and so that is indeed the case. Right now, I'm looking out at Canada, the Canadian Cascades there, and there is snow, but there's less snow. We've not had the degree of snow that you normally would have in January. It's kind of odd. It's been cold enough, but we haven't had the moisture stream. So that big Arctic blast, that bubble that hit the eastern part of North America, largely left the West Coast area here and the Pacific Northwest untouched.
Hawkskull is 100% correct. You buy flour by weight, but use it by volume.
Yes.
And then Icarus added in, so apparently a cup is 240 milliliters in US or 250 milliliters in UK.
Fun.
Yes.
I want to die.
And there's odd things about I could give my weight in stone pound to a Canadian and they might understand it.
Yes. Yep.
Which is another weird thing, right? But yeah, I think one of the sad thing that happened was that the last of my wine from Nova Scotia was consumed. Although we did have a Canadian sommelier help do it. If you haven't had wine from Nova Scotia, and that's probably the case, particularly if you're Canadian, right, and you're not in Nova Scotia, because it's easier to get wine from Nova Scotia outside of Canada than inside Canada. Even the province next door to Nova Scotia, you cannot find wine from Nova Scotia. But that's a sad thing because they've got some great wines there. So
Tim Hunter said Canada is smart enough to kick Justin Bieber out. Okay, so fun fact: Justin Bieber was basically adopted by Usher. And then during the course of his career, whatever happened to him and his career happened. But in one of the Olympics, I can't remember which one it was. I don't think it was the last Winter Olympics. I think it was the one beforehand. There was a bet on billboards that said, Canada versus America hockey, loser takes Bieber. And so Canada won gold that year. So officially, Justin Bieber has been adopted by America because Canada won the gold that year.
And that is a sad thing, sad state of affairs in hockey, where the United States buys essentially hockey players, such that places that are unnatural in their, Arizona and Florida having hockey is like that's a crime against nature. And so when you then ask Canadians the last time that the Stanley Cup, how many times the Stanley Cup has been won by a Canadian team, unless you come up short. And it is a sad, sensitive thing for some Canadians. In fact, the only riot that I ever experienced in Canada was I happened to be in Vancouver when they lost the cup.
Yeah.
And people were not happy.
Just this
Okay,
last...
I just have to say, Arizonans are natural, like ice skaters who love cold temperatures, and you know what? I don't appreciate all this Arizona slander.
There is... This last weekend, there was so not this weekend, last week, there was a big, like, hockey night in Canada thing that went on because 6 out of 7 Canadian teams in the NHL were all playing each other. So the NHL is hockey, for anybody who doesn't know. So so it was so much fun. So the only one that wasn't playing was the Ottawa Senators. And the fact that I did not hear the next day about riots in Montreal was actually impressive because it was Canada. It was the Canadiens versus the Maple Leafs, which was Toronto versus Montreal, and the Canadiens needed to win. Like, it didn't really matter for Toronto, but it mattered for Montreal, and Montreal got skunked. So, like, the first period, there's 3 periods in hockey. The first period, Montreal scored 3 times in a row. Toronto proceeded to score 6 times and not allow another goal for the rest of the game. Absolutely skunked. So, I mean, every time I try to get out of hockey, they pull me back in.
Yes. That and curling, right? That's another
Curling's
thing
super interesting. I actually really like curling.
It is fun to go to a curling event. I do recommend it because the crowd makes up for the action between bowls. So.
Vagary asked if I believe. Well, let me just double check what he said. He said, wait, where'd it go? Do I accept Alberta? Yes, I accept Alberta. You never get better if you don't acknowledge your problems.
Yes.
I accept that Alberta exists. I accept that Alberta has issues, and I accept that those are issues that can be worked on.
Yeah. So fun facts. Some of the more interesting encounters I've had in British Columbia have been with people from Alberta. I mean, positive and negative. The majority of death threats I received when I was in office came as a result of a church in a city in Alberta that took offense that we approved a library connected to a synagogue in our city.
How dare you, sir? The Jews shouldn't be allowed to use the libraries.
So
The
yes,
Jews have their own libraries, and they look like the command center from Power Rangers, and that's just how it should stay. I said because, in case you don't know, that building actually is a Jewish library and a Jewish retreat center.
That's crazy.
and I was on the council trying to understand this public hearing with these people coming up having concerns. But they were and the lady was, I was trying to say, like, do people, are they worried about people turning pages in the library too loudly or creating noise or what? It was amusing. There was a debut of the NAFSA's quiet supersonic aircraft that holds promise for there. I'm looking forward to being if the great we get back to supersonic craft that isn't so bad in terms of noise wise to be able to chase an eclipse and stay in the shadow fast enough to stay in the shadow for like an hour, 2 hours. So
Keller said that Chesh is too Canadian, and I have an admittance. I have 2 problems with my Canadian-ness. One, I do not own enough flannel, and I specifically do not own any red flannel. I have blue, I don't have red, and that is, I've committed a crime. Second
are
is
you
that
really Canadian at that point?
I never played ice hockey. Like, I didn't, grow up playing ice hockey. I have worn hockey skates. I've played hockey like just like amongst friends on ice, but I never actually was signed up for any kind of hockey. However, I did do figure skating.
For me,
Long time ago.
I always consider it an achievement if I could like not fall down on skates. If I got to the point, I got good enough that I was careful enough that I could refrain from falling. But I could not see how in the world you could be competitive, let alone people banging into you without falling down.
I mean, to be fair, when people bang into each other, they do typically fall down.
That's true. but for me, I would be like those. Have you ever been to a game in the middle periods where they have the 5-year-olds come out and do a hockey swarm with a little cute? Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
They
used to be called the Timbits.
Yes.
The Timbits are one of my favorite things ever, because it's just like a bunch of the almost toddlers on ice all just try.
And it's fun. They really get into it. There's actually some kids there can actually end up scoring.
It's great. It's so much fun. And they don't do it as much anymore because Tim Hortons got opened up as a conglomerate and Burger King ruined Tim Hortons because of course they did, and it's very upsetting to me, and we don't need to talk about that right now.
Yeah, I still, out of tradition, roll the rim just in case I get an ancient cup.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know. But yes, it is a sad thing. Now, Hortons never really had the best coffee, but when it's a blizzard and it's -30 and
don't tell that to the Canadians. The Canadians will get pissed at you if you tell them that Tim Hortons never had the best coffee.
There are better. I'm going to say they're not the best coffee in Canada. There are places in Canada that have fantastic coffee, but not as much the chain. At least as I experienced it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although the Timbits are kind of fun.
For the chain for a chain coffee joint, they had the best coffee, but for all of Canada, there was definitely better coffee. But that's not the case anymore because Burger King sucks.
Yes, and furthermore, I've learned that not all Tim Hortons are equal, right? You go on reviews, right? Because there's still some Tim Hortons that are locally managed, and in fact, I had some really good vegetarian food at a Tim Hortons because it was actually run by people who were not Canadian. Go figure. We had a really good thing. The James Webb Telescope gave us some fantastic views of the Crab Nebula. And so we now have this multispectral thing, Crab Nebula, as far as time and frequency space. We're learning a lot about that wonderful thing. It's too bad that pulsar didn't collapse during modern telescopic times, because we would have had really great data to see that. I still want to see a naked eye supernovae in our galaxy. Not 1987A was nice in the Large Atlantic, but that's the neighboring galaxy. I want a nearby one that's close enough you can see it visually. There.
Maybe Beetlejuice can go.
That would be fun. I mean, again, it's far enough away. It's not going to cause problems. It's close enough. We get great data for that sort of thing. The Hubble Space Telescope came back after another oopsie. We thought maybe it was gone. This is the case now when the Hubble Space Telescope finally loses its and gets down to two working gyros. It's not going to be repaired. It's not really repairable, and it'll be deorbited, sadly. But we get some more good stuff.
So let's get into 2025, right?
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
2025 or 2024?
Yes, Maanyaa, we can see your message. You're in here, but you're not actually giving us anything. That's what's happening, right? It's kind of wacky.
Chesh, is there a way that she could like audio connect through you, so at least she could? I'm mentioning this because you demonstrated a lot of skill in the last sort of art thing where you're talking about doing this and that other thing where you.
Could I get Maanyaa in through Discord? All right. All right. All right. All right. I believe in the me. Hold on. I can do this. Watch this. I'm going to go be a master baiter.
Yes.
Hold on.
Okay, so this is Chesh is a professional because she really is, as opposed to some people.
Hold on. Let me
I
try.
see how it is, Landon.
I didn't say who.
Okay, hold on.
Because me, I am vMix challenged in part because I don't use Microsoft
I need to
software,
change.
and I have no idea about the magic. I understand that people who really know vMix can create magic.
Can you hear me?
For it.
Yes. Okay. So Maanyaa can hear me right now. Maanyaa, you gotta turn your camera on.
Japan's lunar probe regained power after some days. We got some more data off of Japanese probe on the moon.
Yeah, I need you to turn your camera on.
We got some James White gave us some really interesting imaging of very, very early galaxies that surprised us. It was fun. And scientists get really excited when we realize we don't understand something. That's the best thing in science is when you say you don't know something, because then you can learn.
I thought that was actually evidence that it was probably just a miracle and you should stop looking.
Yes.
This is going to be absolutely insane. I'm about to do the most cracked thing you people have ever seen in your goddamn life. All right, you guys are not. I promise you are not ready. You're not ready for what I'm about to do. So Maanyaa is going to come in. Where are you? Where are you? Which one are you? Hold on. I have to find her now because she's in an application. Let me minimize this. So what's going to happen?
Finally resolved Feynman's reverse sprinkler problem.
So
Feynman had a puzzle where he showed us a sprinkler, configuration where you could see how the jets would do, and he asked, "What direction will this sprinkler spin when water is forced through it, and why?"
Oh.
And it actually had some interesting implications on fluid flow. It was actually a very deep problem that Feynman had. So look up reverse sprinkler problem. You might learn something.
This is going to be insane. Are you guys ready?
No, you told us we weren't.
You're not ready. I promise you're not ready.
Okay, we're not ready.
I'm going to. All right.
Worthy of being ready.
I'm bringing Maanyaa in, but Maanyaa is currently on my desktop.
Hi.
All right, she can't see you yet.
Hi,
she
Maanyaa.
can't. She sees you're waving apparently somehow. I don't know how. All right.
Very good. So now can we hear?
Wait, not yet. You will be able to hear.
So you bring us. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Check this out. So Maanya's here. All right. So here's what's gonna happen. I now have to stream Discord audio through vMix and vMix into Discord. That's what's about to happen. So if my computer absolutely eats shit and dies, it's Landon's fault. All right?
Sorry, trademark editor.
We're blaming Landon for this because he's the one who sent me this computer. All right, let's go. All right. So now I have to change my Discord audio so that way my Discord audio comes through vMix. All right, Maanyaa, talk.
No, can't hear anything.
Oh, she hasn't said anything yet. Cause she can't.
She hasn't said anything.
Maanyaa, you have to talk. Where are you going? Why did she walk away?
So there was a
hear
really
her?
cute thing of one of the probes on Mars that took a picture of Phobos passing in front of the sun.
not yet.
Created a googly eye image. It was very cute. We discovered carbon dioxide gas from the moon Callisto being erupted out of carbon dioxide volcano vents. It was kind of cool.
Okay, the cable input for Discord is correct. is my cable? Oh, hold on. Why is that?
We discovered the fastest growing black hole. Um,
Ooh,
um, and it is
is it Yo
it's
Mama?
currently 17
Oh,
billion times the mass of our sun,
I'm gonna do it
but
from here.
it's absorbing mass at an enormous rate, right? It's weird. Um,
Give me this or give me death. I
um,
will do this. It's happening. Output device.
Do this.
Cable.
Let's
this is
do
our
this.
Can you guys hear her?
Oh, I did. I did
Hello,
hear
hello,
Maanyaa.
hello.
Hello, can you hear
Yay!
us?
All right. Now I need to stream Discord. I need to stream vMix, but I can't stream vMix because if I stream vMix, it will break. So I have to do my screen, all right? And this is just to get the audio. There.
Dear.
Yay!
Can you hear them?
Oh my goodness. I'm getting an
This
echo,
is-
so hold on.
That probably won't change.
I don't know if I can do anything about the echo because you're gonna hear yourself coming through vMix because I had to put you through vMix.
You may need to put on headphones.
I have okay, hold on.
No, it's not the headphones. It's because her audio is going through vMix out right now.
Oh,
So because she's going out, she's gonna hear herself on the stream back in, and there is nothing I can do about this. I have so
That's
many
just
goddamn
it is.
crossed wires. That is just what she's gonna have to live with. I am sorry. The fact that I got this to work at all is like god tier. Okay, I don't need this.
so Maanyaa,
Oh boy.
can you, avoiding politics, talk about significant events in 2024 from your perspective? We've shared our stuff, but avoid the politics and talk about other things that are significant for you in 2024.
Oh, in my defense, I've been moving countries. So I am out of loop. In the last quarter of the 2024, I've been out of loop. Loop. Oh my god, I can't hear it. I'm listening to myself.
Take one headphone out. It'll help.
Nah.
If you need to, take both out while you're talking and then put both back in when people are talking.
Yes.
Or just mute
silence
the
yourself while you're
stream
talking.
back and forth, whichever one.
Okay.
I deserve another beer for this.
Thank you, Trish. Yeah, but pull your earphones out when you talk and then put them back in when you're finished.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, I get it.
Yes.
For the last quarter of the 2024, I have been out of the loop, and I am blank. So you might have to refill me on everything. But I do know that Trump won the election, and now he's on a very, very stupid way of making stupid decisions. We were expecting that, I guess. But the main event I remember is the Palestinian and the war between Israel and the conflict, and now how there was an attempt to ceasefire. I don't know whether it was successful or not, but I had predicted it on another show that might happen, because that's what happens with war. One country starts it, keeps going. Other countries and United Nations try to impose tariffs and whatever to stop that war. It doesn't work, because there will be always actors who will be like, oh, okay, they're not helping you, we can help you. So now what has happened is, so the same thing happened when the Jammu and Kashmir issue happened between Pakistan and India. Pakistan invaded and they crossed the line, and there was a lot of uproar internationally. But in the end, what happened was there was a ceasefire and a line of control set up. Everyone is sitting wherever they were at the time of the war. So that's the main event that I remember from 2024. What else? Yeah, that's it. That's me. Last quarter has just been a whirlwind, so I don't remember much. Sorry.
Yeah. We will get, we're talking about politics in a moment. But I don't know, Chesh, when you want to do things. I have a statement I have.
Does Landon want to just go on a spiel? I love Landon spiels. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's do a Landon spiel. Go, Landon, go.
Okay, so my first question sort of is: did something happen while the show was paused and I was in Nigeria during the general election? I did vote, but I'll say this: unlike some losers who do awful stuff when they lose, I actually acknowledge that Trump is the 47th president. And while I have general
a
respect,
counterpoint.
Well, while I have general respect for the office of U.S. president, I do not respect the person who currently holds it, for whom I call Orange Man. So, president, office, yes. Orange Man, no. I regard Orange Man with a mix of pity and contempt, and that ratio kind of varies over time. Orange Man appears to me to have deep-seated traits of man-child behavior combined with extreme forms of narcissism. Although I'm not a trained professional and take my evaluation as a grain of salt, as the expression goes. Orange Man too often does things I regard as belonging to someone who is neither intelligent nor smart. You could say Orange Man is dumb and or stupid, and I would not disagree. I accept that Orange Man won, but I profoundly disagree with the majority of electors and those U.S. voters that selected those electors. I believe the U.S. voters have helped select electors, cast votes for the Orange Man, made a terrible choice. I believe they have embarrassed the United States to an extreme and profoundly damaged the reputation of this country for years to come. I want to say, for its worth, that I personally apologize for their collective action. It's also a disappointment that during the same election, the Republican Party maintained control of the U.S. House and gained control of the Senate. The Democratic Party must share in blame for this makeup of the new U.S. Congress. It'll be difficult for a handful of senators, short of the limits of the filibuster, to stop the antics of Orange Man and his MAGA sycophants in Congress. The Republican Party has now become dominated by MAGA, adherents of Project 2025 proposals, and worse, those that suffer from a political miasma known as U.S. libertarianism. Now, I personally regard the modern libertarian movement in the U.S. as a political miasma. If you don't know what miasma is, look it up. It is a political philosophy that is cowardly and tries to hide behind the word liberty as a convenient excuse to cover for their extreme selfish behavior then when it suits them. Modern U.S. libertarian movement is responsible to help create and support the rising tide of U.S. oligarchs, while under the pretense of liberty to the masses, in some Ayn Randian style lunacy that somehow tries to convince a common person that they themselves become rich if they do certain things. And just read Project 25, or better yet, for better understanding of the libertarian political miasma, listen to some of Chester's YouTube videos on Project 2025 for information. And speaking of U.S. oligarchs, I want to make a statement and rant about Elon Musk, for whom I shall refer to as Space Karen. So Elon Musk, Space Karen. And while not the sole cause, Space Karen did contribute significantly to the election of Orange Man. More than simply just donating $250 million to his campaign, Space Karen used his position, influence, and cult of personality to help Orange Man become the 47th president. I believe those who reflect the political antics of I believe those that reject the political antics of Orange Man or regard the philosophy of U.S. modern libertarian movement or Project 25 should consider the following approach to Space Karen, and should consider him as somebody who's causing great damage to society both in the U.S. and abroad. And his recent participation in U.S. politics is just one example of that damage. So, my personal contempt for Space Karen is somewhat known, but I believe it bears just a little brief recap. In my opinion, Space Karen is someone who knows less about quality manufacturing than almost anyone else on the planet. In my opinion, Space Karen uses his wealth on paper to behave like a U.S. oligarch. In my opinion, Space Karen uses his claim of the title of most wealthiest person, and that's a claim, to further boost his cult of personality. It was said that the reason why Orange Man treats him as some sort of alpha male advisor is because of this paper wealth. And by the way, the reason why I say paper wealth is that Pace Karen heavily regards on the price of Tesla to support his claim, Tesla stock. My opinion, and by this is an opinion, should not be, don't regard this as financial advice. The price of Tesla stock, which is currently over $406 a share, is insane, right? I do not see Tesla as a legitimate $1.3 trillion valuation. A price earning ratio of 111, that means if you were to give them effectively of $1, the rate of return would take 111 years to give you your money back, typically. The price earning ratio of 111, in my opinion, is way overvalued. I personally would not pay more than about $32 a share. Not again, please don't take that as financial advice. Consult a certified financial planner when taking action regarding Tesla stock. But my $32 a share would put Space Karen $410 million or so shares at a value of about $13 billion. So far from him being the richest person in the world, it would actually put him down at about number 150 on the Forbes billionaire list. If I may suggest, this is finally in closing, on the following, those who share my concern about the damage that Space Karen has caused and will cause through the Orange Man, I would recommend the following. First, disconnect from what I proudly dead name X as, Twitter. I'll call it Twitter because I'm proud to dead name it. Don't log into Twitter. Don't share Twitter URLs. Deny Twitter any pretense of traffic so that Twitter cannot try to claim to its advertisers any value in its current ad revenue. And understand that some people are addicted to Twitter, right? Such Twitter addicts often offer a flock of excuses of why they still use Twitter. Consider offering those Twitter addicts your sympathy while maintaining understanding that Space Karen uses Twitter to promote his cult of personality and to promote his latest political opinions, as well as to promote Orange Man. So also, look on pity those that own Tesla products. The fit and trim and suspect quality and lack of proper disclosure to car state authorities hides the true problems of Tesla products. Continue to give on the road a wide berth to those Tesla cars because their poor excuse for driver assist stuff causes some people to become inattentive drivers and to do crazy things. And so continue, to look on with pity those that own Tesla products and look at those Tesla products as being essentially not worthy of much respect. In regards to SpaceX, I personally regard it as an incompetent rocketry company whose capabilities fail to even measure up to early 1960s standards, right? That their ability to launch 50 grams in suborbit of that so-called big rocket. Understand that rocket has demonstrated a capacity for payload that is 27 million times less than that of the Saturn V, and that U.S. an ability to get a person onto the moon is going to largely be due to Space Karen's incompetent company, which, by the way, it's not Space Karen's money. It's the taxpayer that is funding those people. So when you see those things blowing up, it's not Space Karen saying, ha ha ha, I just threw away this $100 million. No, it's your taxpayers' money being wasted. So if Space Karen has any level of consistency in his Doge thing to cut out there, one of the things he should do is to ask to terminate the U.S. taxpayers' funding of the incompetent rocket company called Space Karen. And finally, when Space Karen claims he has the ability to do something today, consider a sure bet that he's either being untruthful or his claims are over-exaggerated and it may take years for him to even get close to that if ever. So, enough said.
So I do have one point of pushback.
Please.
But perhaps I should ask a question first. Landon, would you count Charlemagne among the number of Roman emperors?
Interesting, because what is a Roman emperor, and when did Rome stop, and when did people claiming Rome
Well,
That's
so generally speaking, most people do not number Charlemagne among the Roman emperors. Now, this is
yes.
despite the fact that he claimed the title and that a pope crowned him such. And the reason that people don't generally afford him that title, looking back into history, is because the office that he was being said to occupy really had ceased to exist as a matter of
Yes.
any real factual reality.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I would argue that Trump is in fact not the 47th president, but that he is instead the second elected king of a country which I am now calling the Kingdom of Central North America until I find a better name.
Yeah.
For the reason that the Supreme Court, in basically declaring large sections of the United States Constitution non-constitutional, as well as making up an entirely new provision of the Constitution, have effectively abolished any sense in which the Constitution is still the highest law in the land.
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, all offices under that Constitution currently stand vacant.
So I'm just gonna jump in
with your sentiment.
I'm just gonna jump in just on behalf of the audience out there. Hi, audience. It's okay. I'm here with you. Do you consider Charlemagne part of the Roman Empire? Well, it depends on when the Roman Empire counts as being a.
No offense, but there's a reason I asked that to Landon and not to you.
I know. I'm just giving you guys.
So the answer specifically, Dapper, is no. But I recognize that there's some people whose follow the Roman Empire varies, right?
Right, but it's a generally very broad consensus that Charlemagne instead founded the Carolingian dynasty with its own set of successor states that were only very vaguely connected to the previous Roman Empire.
It's sort of the Holy Roman Empire, quote unquote stuff. No more than Mussolini, who viewed himself as the modern Caesar, had anything to do with the Roman Empire.
I have reconsidered my position. Throughout this after Landon's rant, which I thought was very informative, I have changed my position slightly. I was very, very frustrated with the average American. Because the Democrats not doing enough, the people who care not doing enough because of X, Y, and Z, right? Not like, where are all the Americans shooting their guns in the air, being like, freedom, when all this stuff is going on? But I think that Landon brought up a really good point that I forgot about personally, which is the Electoral College. And I think that it's a little bit fair to maybe give some Americans, individuals, the citizens, a little bit more leeway than I was originally willing to give them because of this additional hurdle that a lot of, I think, Americans don't necessarily even understand that they have to deal with in the first place.
Yeah. That being said, Chesh, if the Compact 270 were to be in effect, 217 states with 217 electoral votes have said. Yep. And if we get to 270,
if they were going to implement that, they should have done that.
Now, understand that if that happened, Trump would still have been elected because he won the popular vote too.
Right, but also, Landon, you were assuming that would be allowed.
Right.
Yes.
Because the entire point of this is that you're saying this is what could be done to overturn the effectiveness of the Electoral College in being deterministic of outcome under the Constitution. But fundamentally, the United States does not have a written Constitution that it follows. We gave that up. That's done with. There is no such thing as constitutional or unconstitutional now. There is just a group of unelected, mostly old, mostly white men who will just do whatever they want in terms of what is the law of the land. And additionally, we now have an elected king with effectively unlimited power as long as those group of unelected, mostly old, mostly white, very conservative men allow him to have that.
With money.
Anytime you say, well, this is the way that we could do things within the Constitution, it's completely meaningless. All that matters now is whether or not you have the power and the willingness to use the power. And currently, you don't, and neither do any of those states.
And that's where Democrats always fail. When they get the power, they still go with, let's be bipartisan, let's work together. Nah, we are way past that, but you should be way past that. Your fellow Republicans, even if some of them want to, they cannot because the larger code, they are like, we will do whatever the fuck we want, deal with it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Democrats have to adopt that attitude to just be combative straight off. Because if you have to be really, really like, oh, this is unconstitutional, then be out in the open and say it and be combative about it instead of like hiding in a corner and
Yeah.
just be like, oh, we
And
should blah. Nah, it's
I,
way past that.
I think
Yeah, the
it's
thing I really
important.
sorry.
No, great. I think it's important. Dapper's raised some important sentiments, um, and I am very concerned with the imperial nature of the presidency. The Supreme Court has a group of justices that want to restore or establish the power of the presidency to the point of imperial stuff. People, justices such as like Thomas, that decry what happened to the presidency after Nixon, have been trying to work with their philosophy to restore the supremacy of the presidency, which I think is fundamentally damaging to the republic.
I mean, look, in my opinion, currently, the United States is currently defunct in the same way that the Weimar Republic was defunct after the National Socialists were elected to office and essentially eliminated any sense in which any of the institutions of the Weimar Republic were in operation. And that doesn't mean that all the titles and the positions changed and that the people in them all changed. That's not what happened. But what happened was that the idea that there was some kind of check and balance on the various branches and that it wasn't just one man's show was gone. And as a result, we no longer call 1930s and 40s Germany part of the Weimar Republic. That is what has happened. And also, I want to point out that one of the first things that happened after the fall of the Weimar Republic was mass deportations conducted by the military, which is already happening right now in the United States. If you think it can't happen here, and here is in the country that was once under the United States Constitution, it's already happening. It's too late. You now get to see what you would do during the rise of Hitler, because fun fact, it's fucking right now.
Yeah, I think you make an interesting point. I think that there's like a lot of denial going on right now. There's a lot of people not accepting the situation in a radical or brutal way when it is radical and it is a brutal, like, just facts of the matter. So, like, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? The inauguration, which just looked like a Trump rally, but instead of, like, with, like, trailer people, now it is the richest people in the world.
The coronation.
The coronation. I apologize. The coronation that was supposed to.
Yes, we don't have those.
This is fair. The coronation that was supposed to be an inauguration, which just looked like a Trump rally, had one very out there piece that everybody has really latched onto, and I think that might be distracting from a lot of the things that Trump actually said during his speech. Now, I still think both of these things are important. It's important to talk about both the things. It's important to focus on exactly what Trump was saying and what he wanted to do, which admittedly has a lot of fluff in it, but also has a lot of very real fucking insane shit that I think you need to take very, very seriously. But the elephant in the room is Elon Musk, and I will break the whole, we don't have monetization on this channel yet. We need 500 subscribers for that. So I don't have to fucking care. Dude's a fucking Nazi, dude. That's a Nazi salute, motherfucker. And the fact that you have people in this country that voted this in, denying it is a Nazi salute is actually cracked. Like, actually fucking insane.
So also, trying to say that the other Democrats, when they were making a speech and they were making gestures, like, to follow through with their speech because they're passionate and stuff, try and compare those gestures with what Elon Musk did is absolutely dishonest. And it tells us how far they're willing to go to poison the well. It is like they don't care anymore. They just don't care. And Democrats have to realize that.
And I agree with
There's one thing I want to...
Please go ahead, Dapper.
There's one quick thing I do want to add, because I feel like it might end up being a question that someone might ask, which is to say, no, it would not change the fact that we no longer are operating under the United States Constitution if Kamala Harris had won. Now, she probably would have pretended not to be an elected queen. She probably would have pretended to be a president under the United States Constitution, just like Biden did after he became de facto the first king, which is why I am counting Trump as the second king, because we no longer are operating under anything like that. And the reason you can have elected kings is because that's how many kings have worked historically. In fact, the first English monarchs in the Pentarchy before England was unified were all at first elected.
Yeah, pretending
granted,
that
they were
Biden
elected
wasn't
only
like
by-
pretending Biden wasn't voluntold by the Democrats is absolutely ridiculous. Pretending that Kamala wasn't voluntold by the Democrats. The Democrats have not had, like, the Democratic Party, the people who want progressive things, the left in America, have not had somebody representing them in politics since at least Hillary Clinton. At least, if not longer.
I would go farther back than that. Hillary
Yeah,
Clinton is barely a step beyond a neocon in terms of her left-wing bona fides.
I don't mean
I
her
would say
policies. What I mean is that the Democratic Party forced her to be the choice that the Democratic people did not want in the first place.
See,
and
I would
so-
argue that the
and so understand
Democrats
that-
have not been left-wing since Nixon.
Oh yeah, no. Whether or not they were
And
left wing
I-
isn't what I mean. But yes, I would agree with that. Sorry, go ahead.
And
Landon.
historically, the Democratic Party, seeing what happened with the 1968 Democratic Convention, put into place rules that got us McGovern and got us away from, and the result of McGovern was away from a more democratic process. So that started there. And again, Dapper, I agree with where you're heading and the sentiment you have. You understand, I'm probably well known for my contempt for royalty. I believe I'm the only one in this tavern pub who has had the privilege of cussing in the face of Charles, King Beginners, right?
Yeah.
I've actually
The
cussed
privilege.
in his face.
Not for lack of motive.
So I regard royalty as being some of the scum of the earth, and for Trump to behave like royalty is to me unconscionable. That being said, that those Supreme Court justices that are trying to establish the imperialism of the presidency are doing great damage. I think it's time for the Democratic Party to get back to people's roots,
I think that's over.
people to elect
They don't
senators.
get to do that anymore. No, we're done. There's no more elections.
Who
Landon, I'm confused by
elect
why
senators
you think that there
who are
will be
going
elections in the future.
People who select senators who are going to be able to nominate, and confirm Supreme Court justices. The sad thing about the Trump election is that he had broad support. There are very few demographics for which he won. He lost by second margin, right? There are a number of demographics of people that supported Trump. Sadly, right? But I would think that one of the things to restore the Constitution is to stop pretending like you don't have a litmus test and say, I'm going to vote for electors to select a president who is going to have a litmus test for Supreme Court justices.
I agree if this was 10 years ago.
Who are doing that sort of thing. And because with a majority on the Supreme Court has the power to say, we don't need a court case. We're going to make we're going to go and make these decisions, right? And eviscerate, Citizens United, eviscerate Dodd, eviscerate these terrible decisions, and say the Supreme Court disavows and says he's no longer precedent. Just do it, right? To cancel the lunacy that some of these people that suffer from the libertarian miasma and the notion of imperialist president have done. And the Supreme Court has really done that to extreme.
Landon, you have a fundamental flaw in your logic, though, which is that there is no reason. The only chance of there being another election in which votes actually matter, rather than just having a winner declared from on high, is if the current king opts to allow such a thing.
Yeah. I have a different thing,
why
though,
would
real
Trump,
quick.
Trump has no particular obligation to actually allow for free and fair elections in 2 years.
So real
He
quick,
could
I
just
have
not.
two things. First off, I want to make sure everybody on the panel, we all agree before, because I think this is a good thread to follow, and I want to keep following it. So hold your thought for just a second. I put a poll in the chat because I want to know if there's anybody watching this right now. We have 34 people watching. Is there anybody watching this right now, whether or not you're lurking, whether or not you're participating in chat, that thinks that what Elon Musk did was not a Nazi salute? Because
Yes, I would be
I think
very
it was a
curious.
Nazi salute. Dapper, yes, no.
Oh, of course. It was two
Of course.
Nazi salutes, if we're going to be very specific.
Yes, Maanyaa, Nazi salute? Yes, no. That's a yes. Landon, was what Elon Musk did a Nazi salute?
I think he did a poor job at a Nazi salute.
He was
Poor
trying.
form doesn't make it not. Yeah.
Poor form.
So
Landon's sitting there with a card over his head saying like 2 out of 10.
but seriously, I think that the best you could give Space Karen is that he did a gesture that was a political troll. But it speaks to his character because when people pointed out, "Hey, Nazi salute," he didn't just say, "Sorry, I didn't mean to do that." Trademark Canada.
Well, no, he hasn't
doubled down.
even denied that he did it. He's just trying to meme.
He's gone
Yeah.
and done that gesture, that hand salute gesture, as a thing. And worse, there are MAGA people who now do that at pseudo Trump rallies.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So you can list up and down the reasons why he may or may not have done it. Like, people have been like, oh, he's neurodivergent. Oh, he's just trolling. Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's not really an issue. The issue is that he did it at what was supposed to be an inauguration for the presidency of the United States of America that was held indoors with exclusive people being allowed to be there, primarily billionaire, the 1%, while his supporters were left outside in the fucking cold. That there was the big feature that everybody could go see while they were there was a fucking garbage truck on top of what it has now proceeded to inflame, which is Nazis. It's inflaming Nazis, i.e. your Nick Fuenteses, right? So the issue is like, he did it. His reasoning for doing it is irrelevant, and this is also disregarding the amount of right-wing rhetoric he's been fucking spewing for the last year and a half plus at this point. He's not trying to hide it anymore.
I think he did it as a deliberate troll.
Hang on.
He didn't care about the fallout.
Sure.
Hang on. At this point, I think so. Whoever paid helped Elon buy Twitter, they might have had actually an agenda, and they are the ones who are fueling all this. Let's just and who were the ones who helped us with that? Let me just.
Well, he bought Twitter with Saudi Arabia money, and
and chaos
The Saudi
followed.
Arabians. So I will say though, the Arabic translation of Mein Kampf is a very well-selling book. There's a reason why Saudi Arabia might be okay with Elon Musk being a Nazi
and disabling,
also,
and South America having some very
Always see
serious
where the money's coming from and going.
There's some some very serious racial tension in South America, on top of apartheid, on top of coming from money, on top of yada 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 yada. But I think Dapper was saying something about the king allowing the election process. I didn't mean to detract from that. I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page, because guess what? This poll has 31 votes out of 32 people, and it's 100%.
Yeah. So
Good.
So I think it speaks volumes that Space Karen has not apologized for what he did, even if he claims it was a mistake. I think it speaks volumes that the 47th president hasn't reputed it, right? Had Kamala Harris won, not only would we not have Space Karen.
One of these days, Landon, I'm going to get you to stop calling the 47th, anyone the 47th president, given that it's an office that doesn't exist and has no holder. It's like when the Catholic Church was pretending to elect people as like the Pope of Alexandria, even though they didn't even have one single fucking church in Alexandria. I was like, okay, maybe you guys should stop. You can't just keep calling people the Pope of Alexandria who've never even been there.
I understand that Adolf Hitler was duly elected chancellor through the German people, and they own that. They own that thing.
Yeah. And the
we'll
people of this country own that.
What
but
happens
he's not the president.
in 2026 and 2028 in that sense.
There was never going to be a president.
I think the question then comes down to ultimately, because we're talking about the Constitution, the presidency in America, is do you think, and Dapper, Maanyaa, and Landon, do you guys think there will be an election in 4 years from now?
That depends on
For
what
the
you mean.
presidency.
I think there will be people going to polls with a card of alleged candidates for positions, one of which will say President of the United States of America. Now, if by that you mean that I have any confidence that the people who are currently in charge of the kingdom will abide by the actual results, or will even need to pretend to, I have very little confidence in that, and I would put it at less than 50% chance.
Sure. Maanyaa, what do you think? And then we'll ask Landon. I just want to give Landon a minute. And we have a question from Dr. Kip. So we'll get Maanyaa, we'll get Landon, then we'll get to Dr. Kip.
I think if Democrats get their wits about them, like get them gathered and are able to, come together and actually have a strategy against Republicans, there will be an election and there will be a lot of whinging and whining from the Republican side. If Democrats have the upper hand, and or else there will be an election and it will be someone from the Republican Party, because I think that there's a limit on how many times Trump can run for president. Or they might make amendments to the Constitution in these coming 4 years so that Trump can run. So they will try and keep Trump on that seat as long as they can. That's me.
Very well said. Well said, Maanyaa. So I believe the 2026 election that's going to select Congress, members, third of the Senate and the entire House of Representatives, the Republican Party has an uphill battle given just the nature of it. So it is plausible that the election could change the makeup of the House, especially those MAGA people who and Trump supporters and people that selected Trump's electors find that the miracle doesn't happen, right? And that the things that Trump promised, perhaps even the opposite will occur. Now, whether or not the Democratic Party can get its act together is that's an open question. I would, for example, invite you to look at a video produced by Senator Bernie Sanders, who was at the inauguration, and his commentary. He talks a lot more about things than simply Space Karen's Nazi salute troll, right? I think he brings up some very serious things that people should consider. So please go on YouTube and look for Bernie Sanders talking.
I've been watching him, yeah.
I think that there will be Electoral College meeting after the 2028 general election. The question is whether or not the Democratic Party will listen. I suspect that there's a political push to say, please, no one over 50, right? There will be young people trying to move in. The question is, to what character will those young people belong to? I suspect that
I have a question for Landon after we get through Kip's question.
The MAGA stuff and might be anti-MAGA. But Orange Man will probably anoint somebody. Perhaps I'm predicting one of his kids. So I know somebody very well, very good, dear personal friend, who is a personal friend of the Vance family. And this person was with Vance when the insurrection occurred on the Capitol. This person heard Vance yelling at the White House in fear for what was happening. This person then goes to Vance and says, "What up, dude?" And Vance sort of says, "Don't ask." To me, Vance is worse because Vance knows. He knows the character of Orange Man. He has seen it firsthand, and yet he's doing the same thing. To me, Vance is even more contemptible than the antics of Orange Man. And I feel sorry for his reputation. But we'll see. We'll see in 2028 what happens. We'll see what 2026 happens. My guess is that the Republicans will lose partial control of Congress in 2026. My guess is that the people running for office, running for the Electoral College majority, will be younger people, but will they be younger people that speak to the needs and wants of younger people, or will they just be anointed people? That's to be determined.
I think but why do you think it would be younger people? And when you say younger people, what demographic are you talking about?
Under 60?
Yeah, or under 50.
Do you mean millennials? Do you mean the early end of Gen X? Do you mean like who are you talking about?
The youngest boomers at this point would be an improvement.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and I don't truck with this Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Z, or
yeah. I mean more of it in a general sense. I don't mean it as like a specific. Yeah.
I think people who are elderly are going to have a harder time getting in office, even if someone like Bernie Sanders steps forward and the party says, "Yeah, we will nominate." I think we will say Peter Sanders is too old because they'll have their fill of Biden and Orange Man.
Well, then people are fucking stupid because at that point you have to understand. So I already answered Kip's question in the chat, so we're good on that.
Oh, okay.
And I know Maanyaa has something that she wants to say.
And
Maanyaa,
I still have my question for Landon.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want to, Maanyaa? Is yours a question? Is yours related to what Landon was just saying?
Maanyaa?
Go, Dapper. Maanyaa can wait.
So,
She's not listening.
Landon.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Dapper's gonna go, then Maanyaa can go.
Very frequently, I hear you making predictions about what will happen in an election in which, the Democrats are running which candidates and who people vote for. But I am very confused about what gives you the confidence to say that the Republicans will allow for there to be an election in which the outcome is determined by votes in the first place. Because let's remember, Trump can do literally fucking anything at all, including assassinating anyone who might vote to impeach him. And as long as he can kind of pretend that it's under his authority as the United States, as an official act, which now is just presumptive that all of his acts are official, he does not have a check on his power. Literally, the only thing that would prevent him from doing anything is a revolt from within the United States military. So what makes you think that there would be an election in which the votes determine the outcome? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any reason why that would ever happen again. And I also don't see any reason why Trump would feel like he can't just have a third term in office, because he'll just say it's an official act. And if people object, he can fucking kill them. So what possibly gives you this confidence?
So first of all, Dapper, understand. I understand your sentiment, and I get where you're coming from, and I'm saying that a lot of stuff you're saying, the facts are not wrong. I just want to be sure, because some of the question was also rhetorical, although I don't mind the rhetoric.
I'm very curious as to what you're actually curious about.
Specifically answered.
What is it that gives you the confidence that there will actually be elections, federal elections at least, in the foreseeable future, in which the number of votes are determinative of the outcome?
So can I be clarifying? I think Dapper means a legitimate election and not something that is just like a Putin-style election.
Right, because remember, Saddam Hussein and Putin had elections every few years. Didn't matter.
No.
Didn't matter what people voted for.
By the way, in the case of Putin, Putin does enjoy a significant support within Russia, right? And Putin doesn't really have to cheat. There are plenty of Russians that support him.
Right, but if there weren't, he would cheat anyway.
Yes.
And we know Saddam Hussein cheated routinely.
That's
what gives you the confidence? So it's 2026, right? We're going to have some midterm elections. I fully agree with you, Landon. There will people be going to the polls. There will be Democratic candidates running. A few of them might even win. But what makes you confident that overall, in the vast majority, if not all of those cases, the person who wins the election will actually be the person who gets the most votes? Because there's no reason that I can see to suspect that will continue to be the case.
So where I reject your rhetoric is in its
Mhm.
deep cynicism. I understand why you're cynical, but I still have a faith in the process. I don't think we will get the best candidate,
I
but I still have
think
a faith
that's
in the
like,
process.
but Dapper is asking why. Like, I understand that
Yeah,
you were
why do
saying
you
you
have this process?
understand what Dapper is
Because of the
saying.
process.
Yeah.
Because that America still has a process and procedure as flawed as it is. Because people have voice. I think you'll find that the Orange Man and Space Karen will promote candidates and that they will be frustrated if they don't get as much as they want. I
Interesting.
think that
Right,
if
but
the Orange Man tries to run for a
I
third
agree.
term, he will be frustrated. I think, however, that Orange Man will probably try to anoint, I'm guessing, one of his children to be the heir apparent and will be frustrated. And that those folks, those losers, will
Right.
whine when their candidate doesn't win.
Linda, I agree
Um,
that there's a very good chance that they will not do well in terms of getting votes. What I'm asking you is why you think that the number of votes will be the thing that determines who takes whatever ministry position has been opened up by the king declaring that it is okay for it to be open this time.
Before Landon
Yes.
answers, because I just want to give him a second, we have a point about term limit. 2 points about term limits. One, Tennessee trying to overturn them. The other one, that frustrated atheist that I wanted to point out, said, y'all don't realize that the only thing stopping him, meaning Trump, from being a dictator for life is the fact that there are term limits. The fact that that limit is in jeopardy by a single issue to be voted on. And I think he makes a really good point, particularly because I would be 100% on board with what Landon is saying and agree with him all the way if Trump didn't have a term in 2016. The problem is in 2016, Trump got a term where he got 2 people into the Supreme Court. Getting 2 people into the Supreme Court, already throwing around Nazi salutes on day 1, already having like 7 or 8 issues when it comes to overturning what is the process that's in place. So the only thing that I can really see going forward, if we want to rely on the process, is the Democratic Party, like Maanyaa was saying, has to be really, 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 really fucking aggressive. And we're already at the end of January and we haven't seen dick shit. Sorry, go ahead,
And if
Maanyaa.
they do, what prevents Trump from just killing them?
Sorry,
Yeah.
3 Nazi salutes.
So
Yes.
building on my point that I placed previously, that what's stopping the Republicans from amending the Constitution to give Trump another term? One. And number two, what's happening with Democrats? I kind of see it now, what's going on. Their older generation and their newer generation, like AOC and all, they are not seeing eye to eye. There's a very distinct segregation, I might say. And that is reflected because Kamala Harris was imposed on the whole of the Democratic Party and it did not work. So Democrats have to get their shit together, or else no one's stopping Republicans from amending the Constitution to give Trump maybe another term or until he dies. Which is like
Trump is
okay for them.
also
So
Trump is
Merry
also
Christmas, Happy
putting
New Year.
Trump has also already put in place things that will allow him to attack political opponents. Right?
Oh,
And
so-
suppress them and put them in jail, etc.,
That's
etc.,
where it starts.
etc., right?
So-
I
So
think
go
you're
ahead.
also
let me
forgetting and
correctly-
fucking kill
let-
them. That is still an option that he has legally available to him. He
Yes.
can just order a Navy SEAL to go shoot political opponents, and then he can sign a pardon for that person. And you know what the recourse is? The same people that he just had one of them killed, that same group, they can vote to maybe hold him responsible. And then he can have more Navy SEALs go shoot those people and write more pardons. And then what? There is no
So-
control right now. There is no political solution that can't be overturned by a guy who can just assassinate whomever he wants without consequence. What I'm
So the answer
honestly
to
baffled
Dapper's
that anyone
question-
thinks that voting is an option.
So
The
someone
answer
said in
to
the
Dapper's
that
Sorry.
they can just amend the Constitution. I think so. There's I will disagree on that because Republicans, they still want to be seen as a democracy to the rest of the world. So they will make a bench then.
I think that was always a facade. I
like,
think they only wanted that until they didn't have to. I think that them wanting to seem like they're in a democracy was just a facade. Because the things they've been doing lately have been so blatantly anti-democratic, small d, not big like Democratic Party, just the idea of the demos being the ones who are the, archa, the rulers. Like, it's so far removed from that. I don't think they actually need to maintain that facade anymore. I don't see why they do, especially since I want to emphasize this. Assassinations are now on the table from the king that is purporting to be the 47th president of the United States. What do you do when the guy who you need to politically challenge can just have you shot? Why do you think elections would help with that? Why do you think voting in different justices would help with that? Why do you think you would even be allowed to do those things in a way that could change things? And maybe I'm just being super pessimistic, super cynical. I'll admit that that's possibly part of this, but I still don't get why it is that no one is bothering to point out that the counter to all of this electoral stuff, all of this, maybe we should have younger candidates, maybe the Democrats need to get together and really advocate for the poor and the downtrodden. Okay, great. They can all just be shot. And there is literally nothing preventing that.
You're muted, Chesh.
I said go, Landon. Go.
Okay.
Uninterrupted Landon.
Anita.
Uninterrupted Landon.
The direct answer to Dapper's question is that I reject his cynicism, and I accept that while the American process and the American system is flawed, it is capable of correcting. Historically, the U.S. has been in deeper doo-doo than it is now, and yet we've come back from it. So I have political precedent on my mind. I also reject the cynicism, and I would caution people to not get too deep into that, because if you want to become self-fulfilling prophecy, then say nothing matters, and you can't do anything. So should I pause and give Maanyaa the floor?
No, you go, but I'm going, I'm just letting Maanyaa and Dapper know that when Landon's done, I'm going next.
Yes. So I do reject it. I do also have, I've worked with people who are currently in Congress. I actually know Kamala Harris. I know that if she had been selected as the 47th president, we'd be in a different situation. Perfect? No. But certainly better than the alternative. I think that Trump will try to pull a number of stunts. I think it'll be a test of the system to pull back. I think he will do irreparable damage, and that the MAGA and the people supported and those white demographics that either wholly majority supported or gave significant minority report. Right. The fact is right now that women have a hard time getting elected because of women. That's a sad fact within the United States.
Women have a hard time getting elected because they are women, because men and women and patriarchy, not because women.
Well, women don't.
I think what he's saying is women don't vote for women.
Women don't vote for women, men don't vote for women. So because of those two things, which is not women's fault, that's patriarchy.
I'm not saying it's women's fault. It is so most likely what's going to happen, it will be some male who come forward to say, I'm different than the rest. And whether they are or not, they will have a demographics that'll be different from our previous set. There'll be a shift. I also have, belief that the American system can ride through this because it's done it before, and I believe it'll do it again.
When? I'm sorry, I know it's Chesh's turn.
It's my turn with the rail gun. It's my turn. I think that there's a couple of things here that I think are issues we've kind of already touched on. One is radical acceptance, yes or no. And the other is a language issue. Calling what Elon Musk did him trolling although that might be his intention, I think calling that can come off as dismissive. Not that I think that's what Landon was trying to do. I don't think he was trying to be dismissive at all. I think he was trying to more be dismissive of Musk, not the issue. Yeah. Right? But I think that gets lost in translation sometimes to some people. I think that talking about the system operating as intended is a little bit of a problem or saying that Trump is going to pull stunts, right? I think the word stunts is going to end up being a little bit of a problem because there are already people being pulled out by the SS, the Secret Service, who are ex-military, but because they were Puerto Rican and they quote unquote, they're US citizens who got calls and they showed up and detained them asking for papers. These are American citizens who quote unquote are not white enough. None of the white people got pulled up. They were all people who were working jobs and they got pulled out at their jobs. These aren't stunts or things that Trump is going to try to do. It's already happening. You had a Nazi salute at was supposed to be the America. The thing that blows my mind about this is that this is I thought this was America. I thought this was the land of the free. I thought this was America that kept making media post after media post after media post in movies, books, games about how great they were at dealing with Nazis in World War II. Like, what do you...
They were in World War II.
Yeah, maybe the rest of the world let America take a little bit more credit than they deserved. Maybe a little bit. Mr. We're gonna be late for D-Day. Mr. We're gonna fail at that shit. And the only group that actually succeeded in their D-Day mission and was on time was the fucking Canadians who were regularly on the front line the entire fucking time, getting treated like garbage.
You mean the guys who invented all the war crimes?
Yeah, I will do it again. You think that Canadians won't do war crimes on Nazis again? Because they will.
No, they'll do they won't, because they won't be war crimes yet. You guys are going to invent new
war crimes. Exactly. Right. So we've got there's so many issues on top of. So if you want to talk about America in a bubble, it doesn't work because now America is also already signed. We're talking about executive orders that have already been signed into place. These aren't things that Trump is trying to do. These are things that Trump has done already, including allowing a Nazi salute at his quote-unquote inauguration. So if you're going to go with, we're imposing 25% tariffs on every product and talking about economic war and military warfare with the Dutch over Greenland and the economic warfare with Canada, their biggest trading partner and their biggest source of natural resources, the level of fuckery is so beyond what is America's political system is capable of handling.
So, in my opinion, what they are doing is, with all these actions, they are testing the waters, how far they can go. That's the thing. Yep. This is the beginning of them testing the waters. Also, about America coming out of voodoo in the past, I will disagree with Landon on that. Sorry, Landon, everybody's almost disagreeing with you on that sentiment, because in the past, the population was small, right? So everything was, and there were limited mediums of media and communication. Everything was very easily traceable. I would say that. Now, with the expansion of internet and communication channels and the population that has exploded and the increase in the number of uneducated people, I don't know if they will be able to come out of this voodoo starts. That's where I disagree.
I want to point out something real quick, and it's just because that sorry, I have to scroll up for a second because it was in chat. So it's on screen right now. I just want to make sure I read it correctly. I lost it in the shuffle.
Can we talk about something that can offer a sliver of hope? Yes.
Okay. I'll let Landon go. Landon, wait. Me, then you. Okay. I got this. Hold on.
Please go.
Here's the thing. You have to acknowledge the way things are before you can find a solution. So I'm here for solutions, and I think that there are very real legitimate solutions, and I think there are still some options for America in place that are not violent. I think that there are still non-violent solutions that can exist for a large portion of the US population. I think it's foolish to pretend that violence is not an option in any situation, because violence is always an option, but would I encourage violence? That's situational. However, if we do not suss out where we're at and accept that we are and America is in this shitty situation, because this isn't just an America problem. As much as like the Americans are going to probably suffer the most from this issue, the rest of the world has to deal with it. The rest of the world has to deal with the climate change, as America has just pulled out of the of WHO. They've pulled out of any resources and anything. Yeah. Anything that's climate change related, they're out. There's a really seriously very, very good chance that America's going to pull out of NATO. And America's going to pull out of like the agreements across the board with everybody. And so that is something that we have to acknowledge that is the case if we want to talk about what are the positive things that you can do. And if you really, really want to do something that is positive that you can do to help drive your country as an American or as an outsider that's not a part of America that wants to do something about this, your best bet is going to be pay very, very, very close attention to which companies you are giving your money to. That is the most you, as an individual, that is one of the biggest things that you can do. Sorry, Landon, you go ahead.
So please, because I don't want some of the comments been made to confuse the situation for where my position are. Right? Go back to my rant and look at the contempt that I have for Orange Man, Trump, Space Karen, and the libertarian movement and Project 25. If that wasn't evidence that I hold in contempt what has happened, I don't know what can give you. That being said, I still believe in the American ideal, and that just as Dapper stated algorithms that Trump could remain president for life, I also can cite algorithms where he can be removed. And it's up to the American people. I think it's very important that people not get buried in cynicism and to say nothing can be done, because that is something they want to convince you to do. They want to convince you you're powerless and nothing can happen. That's far from the truth. There are mechanisms by which will those mechanisms be perfect? No. Will they be successful in the first try? No. Will the damage that's been done, that's been caused, be removed in a couple of years? No. Some of the damage is going to be extremely long term. That being said, the reason why people like Trump, people like Musk will ultimately fail is because of the system. Will it produce the best in regard? No. But it is something that's there. I do want to also talk about, I think it's important for us to talk about implications, right? And again, there's some very severe implications. I think one of the things I hope we talk about is trade and what's happening with trade.
Let's actually do that. I think this is a really good idea. We should take this opportunity to take a break and come back and talk about trade, because I think the fundamental disagreement here is Landon believes that the system will hold up because the people are going to uphold it. And I think a lot of us would like that to be true. And Dapper is asking for a fundamental, solid piece of legislation, solid piece of, like, anything that is going to say, no, he can definitively not do this, and this thing will definitively be upheld. And I think what Landon is now mentioning is that doesn't exist. We have to rely on the people to do it.
I don't entirely agree with that characterization.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, because the thing is, I don't think such a thing is, like, ontologically possible.
No, yeah, we're not talking about ontology. That's for the philosophy show, which is on the first Saturday of every month.
Okay, but the reason that I say that that's important is because
yes,
I'm not asking for a square circle to be found.
Right.
which is, I think, what you were just asking for.
Sorry,
The
no,
same that
that's
was
not what I
looking for.
intended. But yeah, if it came off that way, please elaborate.
It seemed that way. So what I am looking for is just a practical reason to think, because as far as I'm concerned right now, all the facts on the ground are that nothing will happen to Trump that is not either something he consents to or that is forced upon him by men with more power, with the ability to enact more violence on him than he has to enact upon them.
I think
I
we
do
can
not
all
see
agree.
a peaceful way out.
I think we can all agree
If I may
that.
rephrase the question,
Sorry, yeah, go ahead. It's,
that
well, it's not a
Dapper is
question, but
asking.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
is their definitive in the Constitution when violated?
Nope,
even
it's
the
not even that.
Republicans, even the most
Nope.
extreme ones who
She can't hear you.
support Trump,
No,
will go,
here's the-
"Oh shit! No, 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 no."
No, it, like,
Is
yeah,
there
no, I
anything
agree
like
with.
that?
No, I agree that
Nope,
it
it's
doesn't
not even
exist.
that.
That's
It
my
doesn't exist.
question.
Well, it doesn't exist
thing
because
is-
we're already playing a game where the Constitution is not. This is like playing chess. You have a chessboard. You have a king. You have a queen. You have your pieces. All the pieces have rules around what they're supposed to do. And then what Trump did is he just took his pawn and he threw it on the opposite side of the board. Took your bishop and said, "This is a queen now."
No, it's far worse than that. He
Sure.
took a gun and
but-
said, "I can shoot you if you don't let me get a checkmate."
Sure, that too.
By the way, understand that when Maanya's talking, she can't hear us. So
Yeah, no,
there's a
I
number of
realize
things
that. That's my
I
bad.
didn't hear Maanya say because
I
someone
apologize,
else was
sorry.
talking. I apologize
That would
for
be
that.
me. You can say it.
Want me
Dapper,
to repeat
please
it?
be quiet when Maanya's talking. Maanya, can you ask
I
your question
apologize.
again? Yes.
I actually feel so guilty about this because all my browsers are not supporting remix for some reason today. So what I wanted to do was rephrase Dapper's question and ask. Maybe the question is, what is there in the Constitution of America or US which, when gets violated, even the Republicans, even the extreme ones, even like Musk, like let's go with that. If violated, they go like, "Oh shit!" No. I think so. That's the question.
I mean, I can answer the question, and the answer is there isn't one. There is
Yeah, that's the
nothing
thing.
in the Constitution that these people are not willing
And I rest
already
my
to
case.
violate. And so, if
Yeah.
they're not willing to violate, if they are willing to violate something, then there is nothing to say that they. As much as I would like Landon's, like to take Landon's position as I'm an outsider. I'm not American. I'm watching this
Well,
as
you're an
a-
outsider until the violence spills over the border.
Well, until we're being considered the 51st state. We literally, it is not reasonable for a Canadian to see the rhetoric coming out of America and the people in power in America, including Elon Musk, including Donald Trump, including the Republican Party, including people like Ted Cruz, who's like, "Oh yeah, Greenland. We we're friends. We can have a conversation." And Greenland's saying no, and they're like, "It's okay. We can have a conversation." That's a threat. These are not. This isn't a joke. This isn't like, "Oh well, we as outsiders who are being directly attacked on either economic or rhetoric or whatever, whether or not the Americans want to, like the people who are American want to take that seriously and how much they believe the military is going to support that, how much they think that's yada yada yada, we have to take it as ostensibly a declaration of war. We have no other choice, because if we do not and we are caught with our pants down, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. But
Yeah.
I'm going to let Landon answer when we get back. I'm going to give us all a bathroom break and go get drinks. We're going to start with trade, but I will also give time to answer what I said. So let's just say we'll give Landon a minute to come up with his next spiel, and then we'll go off of that. Does that sound good to everybody?
I don't
All
know
right.
that I can say a whole lot longer, but yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I know we're doing a little bit of a longer one. We're going to try to go for maybe another 45 minutes. Is that okay with you?
I probably can't stay that long.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see
but
how
we
long
can-
Dapper lasts. All right.
Yes. All right.
We'll be back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I hope you managed to get yourself a snack. I hope you guys managed to do a little bit of self-care. I hope you all managed to get some fucking water. I mean, I agree with the sentiment that we have to be, as Canadians, like as people who are outside of America, have to be concerned about our friends and family members who are in America, and we have to be concerned about our own family and friends who are in Canada. It's a really not a great situation. I think we all agree with that. I don't think there's any disagreement there. It's just a matter of whether or not you. I think Landon basically just thinks the system's gonna work, and everybody. And I think maybe Maanyaa might agree a little bit more, but I think me and Dapper are both on the vein of there is no reason or viability. The system means nothing if people are not gonna uphold it, or if they're going to wantonly break it, and we've already seen that happening. So, you know, Jesus. Are you okay, Maanyaa?
Is it Maanyaa or is that Dapper?
No, that was Maanyaa. Just
okay.
You alright?
I'm still wearing my Bluetooth, so when I heard that, I was just like, whoa.
Well,
I'll wait for both of us to come back.
Landon, what do you think? You want to get into the trade?
So yeah, my one sentence answer is the
Yes.
same Constitution, the same laws, the same regulations that brought Trump in are the same process that can take him back out. The same voters that selected the current Congress are the same group, plus, plus or minus the change in demographics, who can do the same thing. And I would urge you to be concerned and be vigilant and to be very concerned with what's happened, but don't let the current situation bring you into a level of cynicism. Because one of the things that the they does is try, and I'm not saying this, the panelists are doing it, but the they does is try to sit there and say, nothing matters, it's screwed, stay home, because that's how people like Trump get
I don't.
elected.
But Landon, we're not saying that, right?
Yeah, you're not saying. I understand, but avoid the trap of depression and cynicism and stuff, because at that point it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But what part of it is cynicism to say? How is it cynical to acknowledge that there's a system in place? This system is being violated. Therefore, the system has no respect, and with no respect, and nobody holding the system accountable, there may as well be no system, regardless. That's not cynicism. That's acknowledging
because the same
scenario.
mechanism, I'm going to say it again, the same Constitution, the same laws, and same regulations.
That doesn't answer the question, though. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Don't get me wrong here. I understand that you're saying that there's no reason why you can't use the same system to get him in, to get him out. But if he's violating the system that got him in the first place, then the system that gets him in the first place cannot be relied upon to remove him unless he follows the system, which he's already proving he's not doing.
The same system can pull him out, even
Why?
If will.
If he doesn't follow the system, why would the same system work to pull him out?
It did it in 2020.
Right.
Yes, in 2020, the system was still in operation.
Right. And now it's not working anymore. He's violating the Constitution. He's violating the system now.
The difference between you don't like the outcome and you say the system is forever failed. You can't prove
No. Nobody here is saying we don't like the outcome, therefore the system has failed. Literally nobody here has said that.
Right.
What
2020,
said,
I don't like the outcome. The system succeeded.
Right. 2020, nobody liked Biden. We admit Biden. 2016, we don't like Trump. Trump succeeded.
Yeah,
There's
sorry, I actually meant 2016. Sorry, I said 2020.
Both. Nobody fucking wanted Biden, let's be real.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't
This
either.
isn't an issue that we don't like the answer, and I'm a little bit insulted. I think you know us better than that. The problem, and I agree with you if you're talking to somebody else. The problem here is that people in America have constitutional rights. We all agree about this. And the election process is...
They have them on paper.
On
they
paper.
no longer have them.
As of right now, Dapper, let me do my fucking hypothetical.
Sorry.
Theoretically, the American citizens currently have rights. and they have laws that are protecting them from unfair attacks by the government, and the government infringing upon those rights, right? Theoretically, there should. Mm-hmm. They don't.
It's what's on paper.
Those rights are currently being violated. If the Secret Service is able to walk into your workplace, and if you're not white enough, they demand your papers and detain you, that's against the Constitution, right?
Yep.
Is that against the Constitution?
Yes, it is.
So
Landon,
So here's a response, right? That same system. We've had situations in the past that have been extraordinarily bad. Like consider the internment of Japanese citizens, right? But that same system and that same general that became a Supreme Court justice who reversed a lot of his damage. That same system ended up creating a situation where Norma Netta, a child who was in an Japanese internment camp, became temporarily Speaker of the House to preside over a bill to give reparations to Japanese for that horror.
And what year was this?
Mm-hmm.
That was in, I believe, I want to say 1982. But I'm giving you, you want examples, right? Giving you an example of that, right?
Oh, no, I didn't ask for examples. You're providing me one, but I didn't ask for one.
I would Maanyaa that probably did. But the answer, and I would say, be vigilant, be concerned with what's happening, right? And understand, I am agreeing with that, but avoid a trap where the system tries to convince you nothing matters, stay home and leave, because that's
you keep bringing this up. This is like the fourth time you're bringing this up. Nobody is saying this.
I'm not saying you're doing it. I am saying to people out there, avoid this thing.
But it's
yes,
not...
we all agree.
We all agree.
Here's the problem, Landon.
Don't not do nothing.
There's a fundamental difference.
Not necessarily to you.
Yeah.
And there's a fundamental difference between bad court decisions, which I agree with you have happened many times, including at the Supreme Court, and what has currently happened. Because even though previous bad Supreme Court decisions were bad and were later overturned, and there was at least some modicum of justice attempted to be provided for the victims of those bad court decisions, the one thing that those bad court decisions do not have in common, that there are currently court decisions that do have this in common, is that none of those court decisions were obviously and openly disregarding the text of the Constitution. They were all based in something that you could at least squint at the Constitution and see that in there. The current Supreme Court has done everything short of coming out and saying it explicitly to indicate that they don't give a single flying motherfucking Christ of a fuck about the Constitution. It is no longer in operation as long as they don't want it to be. It doesn't matter to them. All of the bad court justices in the past have at least maintained a broad understanding that they were subservient to the document as it was written, and that is no longer the case.
I beg to differ. There have been...
I don't see how, but I'm glad that you have that optimism, and I hope you're right.
Had significant damage, like the notion that black people were not people was something the Supreme Court held. The notion that American citizens have to be Japanese that can have their rights taken away and in turn, without committing a crime, is something the Supreme Court has done. That same court can go back and reverse those things. The Supreme Court can end up having a third marshal sit on the court. The same thing can have... So the system has gone back and forth. Be very, very concerned with the current situation and do your part in the process. So I would say continue to vote as you can.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, Maanyaa.
May I? So I think what Landon is saying, if the people of America not strictly follow what they say, keep an eagle's eye on what is being done to undermine their constitution, and the masses keep a very strict eye on that and react accordingly, the system should work. I think so. That's what he's trying to say.
You have to have enough faith in the people and the Electoral College and in the elected officials, assuming. But,
Sure.
and I think where we're getting a contention is Dapper and I are not willing to make the assumption that you're going to be allowed to make a choice at all in the first place, and Landon is. And it's not that, and the issue is that Landon has a different opinion. This is not a right or wrong. Dapper and I would both prefer that Landon be correct, because then it's a lot easier of a course correct. I think the only contention that we're coming to is at least Dapper and I do not agree or understand necessarily why Landon has this faith in this system or these people outside of Landon does. Period. He just does.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Maanyaa,
go ahead.
He's allowed to.
Yeah, he's allowed to. He's not
soon.
wrong.
I think
to be
it's
clear.
also like,
and I'm not criticizing
also like depends on
Dapper
the
or
people
Chef.
he's surrounded by, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's surrounded by people who are, who keep an eye out on how things are going and what is happening. He himself does that. So therefore, he says he thinks that there are more people out there like him who will
I hope so.
I think
I
that.
so.
I
have to get
I'm
going.
not surprised that he holds that opinion.
I think that there
Josh,
are
Dapper,
a lot.
again, do you mind if I do a final
personally,
statement?
I was trying to talk to the public in general. So please don't think it as a personal offense.
No, Landon.
Yeah.
Like I said, but actually part of my little closing before I get out of here, because I have to get ready for a stream on my channel, was going to be to say, I very much hope you're right. I very much hope you're right. However, I don't have any faith that you are, and I will say a few things before I have to get out of here, and I will give everyone else, obviously, the last word, because I have to go get ready for my stream. Okay, if you are neurodivergent, if you are trans, if you are anything that isn't as straight as an arrow, if you are not a Christian, if you do not have skin that is as pale as the newly driven snow, the current regime is both lawless and a direct threat to your life. You should treat it as such. Further, I hope that all of this can be resolved without violence. I very much doubt that that will be the case, because there is already violence being enacted right now. And finally, I fear that the only resolution will be a Thomas Jeffersonian resolution in which the Tree of Liberty must occasionally be refreshed by the blood of tyrants, which I hope is not the case. But I don't have a whole lot of faith that it won't be. And I hope, to whatever power might be out there, that it isn't. Because holy shit, the last time that happened in this country, it was a real fucking nightmare. And I don't want it to happen again. And I hope Landon is right. But maybe get yourself a bug out bag if you're out there. You know? Get some canned food, some bottled water, a few changes of clothes, and maybe a place to flee to, because I suspect that a very large portion of this audience may need such a thing in the next 2 to 4 years. And again, I really, really hope I'm wrong. It is very rare that I want to be wrong as much as I do right now.
Thanks for joining us, Dapper. You need to head out?
Thanks, Dapper.
Yeah. I'll be on my channel in about 37 minutes going live for the Cambrian Bunny Awards, which will hopefully just be a fun, relaxed time in which I don't bother to talk about the fact that, the majority of the country is currently wanted dead by a, tyrant with no checks on his power.
I will try and time our ending here with the start of your stream. So if you're
can I object?
You can object in a second.
I just won't be
here.
Yeah,
he's got to go. So you can object, but I'll give you the time to object. We will keep this stream going up until Dapper goes live. When Dapper goes live, you'll be able to jump from here off onto Dapper's channel and vice versa. Thank you so much for joining us, Dapper. Get out of here. Thank you so much. I know it's stressful. Have a good day, man. Go ahead, Landon. What do you got?
I was suggesting, by the way, that we also need to talk about, I think, the international situation.
Yes.
Not Trump.
All right.
And we need to also get some audience participation. And if that, his awards will go there, I would recommend that we also let the audience have a chance to participate as well.
Oh yeah, the audience has been in and out, but yeah, go ahead, Landon.
Yeah. But
what do you got?
I part of the thing is that I believe I'm the only one on this panel who has drafted articles of impeachment, who participated in actual impeachment, who participated in an investigation, who then participated in a trial, a legislative trial, and then found the person guilty, right, of horrid crimes. And the person who we refer to as the bitch was removed from power by the system because people, instead of falling, we could have fallen victim to we can't do anything, did something about it. And that's what's going to have to happen in order to improve the situation.
I said that.
Yeah, I think
and Maanyaa said it very well. I'm just echoing stuff. Again, I'm not blaming there. I'm just speaking to the general public.
Yeah.
So
I
trade.
think that there needs to be something said specifically about if you think you can utilize the system better and in a way that is more effective than how it's been weaponized currently, then I think go for it. Do it. I think 2024 was the best attempt that we were going to see because now I think it might be too late. But that's just my take.
But you had a very interesting show about boycotting American companies.
Yes.
I would suggest just that one of the premiums you should put on is companies that are directly or indirectly related to space carrying. Right?
Oh yeah. Like do one for Elon to be like, hey, this is Elon, this is like just like go through his stock and see what he owns. That would be very funny.
Yeah, and or things that are sycophantic to it, right? So you see something like Facebook, which is now sycophantic because the high tech industry understands that when you get change of administration, they follow, right? That's a sad fact.
Yeah.
So trade.
Let's give Maanyaa one last word, and then we'll go to trade. Go ahead, Maanyaa, because you went, Dapper went, I went. Let's let Maanyaa go, and then we'll go trade.
Canada.
So there was, I don't know which country was it. There was like an assembly in Europe where one of the speakers was like basically told Mark Zuckerberg that if you don't like our laws, you don't like that we want to protect our people, then take your, what did she say? Alpha something? She said something, and she had to go back to America, basically. And I was like, this is what we want. This is what it should be.
That was the European Parliament, if I recall correctly.
Okay, yeah. Let's go for trade.
So what appears to be happening with trade is that people behind the scenes, the oligarchs, I'm not even talking about space carrying, understand that the man-child that is Orange Man and his insecurities, they can whisper in his ear and cause him to emit stuff which impacts the rest of the world. And that these people are doing this sort of thing where they're positioning themselves with things like commodities and other things, and then try to whisper in Trump's ear to get Trump to react like a man-child. Here's an example, right? Let's say that somebody says, I want to gain a better position in lumber. So let me whisper into Trump's ear, Canada bad, and you should stop their lumber. Why? Because they've acquired positions of U.S. lumber that when even if it's unsuccessful, the threat of disruption allows them to bring forward their higher priced goods and promote that. Maanyaa, you have something to say as well?
Same thing around people or companies who sell weapons. This is the same thing. In a little different sense, yes, when there's war, yes, you need weapons and you buy more. In America, it's also unique that about guns, especially, it's I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I'll think about it and come back. But main thing, when there's war, you need more guns, and it's the same thing. And then the contractors who sell these items, they price them as how they want. So,
as a Canadian, I'm looking at this from a very different perspective. As a Canadian who is like to check our privilege, I am very white looking, right? My heritage is like German, Irish, or Scottish or something, and like go back far enough and it's like Romanian like wanderers. Like I'm fucking white, dude. I'm like a third generation Canadian. And there's no denying that. I am not straight. I am also, my gender fluidity may or may not be apparent in how much like a boy I look half of the time. But it's a lot of that is irrelevant for understanding the threat on the national level, right? We have to understand as Canadians that at the end of the day, we are entering into economic warfare that is more extreme than what we saw in 2016. 2016 was something that happened. There were tariffs put on specific things in Canada in 2016. That happened. We need to be prepared for it. They've already now been signed into place. Right? If I'm not mistaken, the tariff is higher and it is way more wide sweeping. From my understanding, it is Canadian products at 25%. That's going to be a big fucking deal. That's not just going to be a big deal for Canadians, it's going to be a big deal for Americans. Canada's response is currently, that might change, we also have an election coming up and we need to be very concerned about that as Canadians so that way we don't get caught in the scenario that America's in, that where we're hoping and praying that our system works. We should use our system while it's still effective, and we definitively know it is still effective, that we can be like, okay, let's not go that direction. But as of right now, the situation is in a place where we are looking at the next leader of the Liberal Party is an economist who understands economy, who will understand and be able to deal with a war that is a very different kind of war than just boots on the ground. At the same time, as Canadians, we also have to understand that our military in numbers and in guns, like Monty was saying, is going to pale in comparison. We will not win a 1-to-1 just flat-out war with America, so what do? We do the same thing that Ukraine did to fucking Russia. We run the same fucking gambit. Do we do it exactly the same way? Not necessarily, but these are things that we have to consider, and we have to understand that if you're an American and you have people in Canada that you care about and you don't like what your country is doing, you need to boycott these people. You need to not give them money. You need to bankrupt the oligarchs. You need to bankrupt Elon Musk. You need to be the ones that are protesting and doing whatever you feel like you need to do when it comes to weapons manufacturing. That's on you. For Canadians, what we need to do is boycott American companies. What we need to do is shore ourselves up. If you're an American and you are fucking tattletaling on your fucking neighbors about whether or not they're immigrants and whether or not they need to be reported and whether or not they're white enough, fuck you. And in fact, if you're somebody who knows somebody who is doing that in your neighborhood, you need to go out of your way to make sure they're too afraid of the consequences to make that report in the first place. That doesn't mean it needs to be violent towards them. That doesn't necessarily mean those things. It means that there needs to be such egregious social backlash to anybody calling in and reporting their neighbors. Those are all things that you can do. You can do these things. These don't involve like grabbing a gun and shooting your neighbor. Those things, you don't have to do those things to actually do something. You do not have to use the system like Landon was describing as it was inherently intended. It clearly has wiggle room. It clearly has rules in and aligned within it that allow you to do one thing or another, such as protesting, such as filing lawsuits against a workplace that is doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, such as etc., etc., etc. down the line. Those are all things that you can absolutely do. And yeah, anonymous, for example, there's you can do, like, no singular American, regardless as of right now of what they do, will ever do something as violent towards America than what Trump and Elon are doing combined together. You are not capable of doing that. Period.
Yeah. So in the case of trade again, I think
Yes.
what's happening is that you have some oligarchs behind the scene that see an ability to power grab. They don't care the consequences of it, but they're trying to power grab. They're trying to remake international trade and position themselves in opportunities, right? So it does, they're not necessarily successful, but as an example, they admire Putin's oligarchs and what they were able to do, except that the Russian economy has collapsed. And so they're seeing the opportunity in people like Trump, just like they saw with Boris Johnson and the whole Brexit debacle, right? As an ability to try to position themselves in order to figure out how to try to gain power at your expense. So as Chess said, yes, economically you need to be very cognizant about your purchasing power and its effect.
If they look at Vietnam, for example, Vietnam was not a war that was supported by the American people, and it fell through, and it fell through badly. If the American citizens do not want to go to war with Canada, they have the power to say no. At the end of the day, you outnumber the oligarchs, and the oligarchs rely on you to do the labor, to make the money, to buy the product. If you do not support an oligarch, you cut the legs out from underneath them, period, end of sentence. And
you make them very, very unhappy, which is good.
Oh, poor them. Oh, no.
So as somebody who lives next to Canada and observes Canada, by the way, my guess is you'll not have an invasion. You will have a takeover of more of Canada, right? One of the things I am concerned with Canada
it'd be occupying.
Is that it has been moving towards a presidential style democracy where Canadians don't vote for the member of parliament. They just support the leader and say,
which is fascinatingly really, really recent. It's like the last maybe 5 years. It's crazy.
And in fact, we did. When we were doing election polling, the number we found was I think it was like 78% of Canadians could tell you the party they voted for, but not who won in their writing. Right? They couldn't even tell you whether or not they voted, but they couldn't tell you who won.
But that's part of the point. Yeah, it's
was.
A weird catch-22 where one, that's part of the point. You're not supposed to know who the individual is because the individual doesn't matter. You're supposed to be voting for the party and that party's policies. Who the individual is doesn't matter. There's been a really big problem that has arisen because of the coalition between the two conservative parties conjoining into one. I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss off a lot of Americans. Your country's built on a lot of bullshit.
Yep. And
I don't mean that derogatorily, I mean that factually. If Americans want to talk to me about freedoms, and Americans want to talk to me about how great America is, and Canada should be the 51st state, or we love whatever the fuck, come and talk to me when, first off, your bald eagle cry is actually the cry of a bald eagle, because it's actually not. It's a hawk. It is, and you want to know where both hawks that you're getting the cry from and bald eagles have thrived? Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
So
the only reason you have a bald eagle anymore is because you would have ran them out of existence. But no, we fucking took care of that for you. But secondly, one other one, come and talk to me when you fucking notice that the footage that you watch and you learn about great American history in World War II and D-Day, when you learn and you understand that you are not watching American soldiers in that footage, those are Canadians, motherfuckers.
Yes. So you're right, and I have no disagreement with what you're saying. U.S. officers suffer from this number oneism, where we say unless we're number one, we're trapped.
There's only America, and
thing.
I don't mind if Americans want to be number one, all right? There are polls and things that we measure around the world, global polls and global metrics that we measure who is good at what thing. America is not even near the top of any singular one of those things. The closest they get is freedom of speech, and that's about to take a dip into go fuck yourself land.
Yeah. So you're right, and it's a case where some of the other issues we're facing is that um, you know this the numberanism has additional problems. We have this hyper nationalism and belligerent patriotism that is infecting our society. Right. That's probably one of our big problems. The one way that people that these because Trump is we have this across the world a populist movement where populists show up, they don't promise a solution, they just say bad people. I'm gonna make bad people suffer, and the implication is, oh, select me, promote me, because we'll get rid of the bad people, and that will be how it's done. That's how Hitler did his whole rise. That is how people like Mussolini, Stalin, Franco, those terrible people rise, and it's how Trump does it. Trump is a symptom of this worldwide populism problem. I think Prime Minister Starmer really said an important thing, which is the way you combat populism is not by logic and rhetoric, but by making the people lives better. If people's lives are better and you improve the lives of average people, it's harder for these populists to try to say, you are suffering because trans people, or you're suffering because of immigrants, or you're suffering from...
The message matters, and the advent of social media has changed the landscape, and some scammers, surprise, surprise, are the first ones to be able to take advantage of it and learn and how to weaponize it against people, and the people who don't want to weaponize it are trying to play catch up, like they always are. There is a different problem in America, and I think it's a little bit... I agree with Landon that there is a populist issue overall that is coming from these, and I think it gets its roots in social media. But I think that there's a different issue that is explicit to America, and I think we saw the same problem with Brexit, and we see the same thing in the Conservative Party of Canada. So there's these pockets of this problem, but it's very like distilled in America to showing it off, and it is. There's only America and not America, and nobody cares about not America. Americans being so goddamn fucking delusional about their participation in world events. About their, like, and I don't mean like, I'm not trying to say that individual Americans are delusional. I'm trying to say that the country's identity on a whole is built on bullshit. You've been sold bullshit. And part of that is the responsibility of the rest of the world patting them on the head and being like, yeah, okay, America, yeah, all right. And now suddenly that puppy we've been patting on the head and being like, yeah, no, it's fine. You think that you did this big thing is starting to be like, I'm gonna bite you. And we're all like, whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. That's not a... You can't do that. Right. And so this is a really, really big fucking problem. This idea that America has a really distorted funhouse mirror version of itself that it sees. And it's just not reality. It's just not real. America thinks they're this big player, but, and admittedly, listen, it's not to say that America isn't. Right? It's not to say that America doesn't have big plays. It doesn't have a lot of power on the world stage. It's to say that America thinks that the world, it doesn't exist outside of them. And that is just not true. America does not win a trade war with Canada. America does not win even a feet on the ground war with Canada. And it's because
I'll give an example.
There is the rest of the world. Yeah, go ahead.
So, remember when tariffs were imposed on Russia, you know, when the war was like up on the peak between Ukraine and Russia. And India was like, we're going to still buy shit from Russia. Fuck off. And they tried shaming India into it. And they're like, will you not? We don't give a shit. We are going to look after our people in the way we see fit. And that should have given America the message that they don't matter anymore on the international stage. And with now Trump, I don't know if he has signed it or not to withdraw from the United Nations. Their veto power is gone at the world stage. What are they going to do? They'll look like idiots from then on.
Yeah.
And then and who's going to fill that slot? who will come in and fill that slot of the veto power?
So can I? So I agree with what what's being said here. Can I request that we talk about things other than America? Not because I don't want to hear it, because I think there are more important things happening outside of America.
You want to talk about economics, the way everybody else,
or other things, right? There are other things going on in the world that we should be paying attention to besides America.
The biggest issue right now is that there is a pending economic war. And the way that war folds out, whether or not there are boots on the ground, whether or not which countries get involved, because if we want to talk about which countries are going to get involved in which, it's going to be a very sticky situation where you're going to see NATO siding with Canada, Russia siding with America, China siding with Canada. And that is specifically because of trade routes. The only reason China will side with Canada is because of the northern trade route. They do not want America and Russia controlling it, period, end of sentence. That's just basically the way it goes. But if we want to talk about, like, overall, what is going to happen in trade, what is going to happen in economics, what is going to happen to NATO, which includes people outside of America, but we have to understand that every country, if they do not have contingencies for America deciding we don't want to be part of NATO anymore and retracting their participation, that's a very real thing to be talked about. That's a very real situation, and they're a fool if they haven't made plans for that. Everybody made plans for that when Trump was in 2016. Everybody made plans during the Paris Accords that Trump was going to pull out of it. We all knew that was going to happen.
Also, and that's why I think so. I don't blame the countries who do trade with countries that America is not fond of, for example, Russia, because they are telling America, we don't need you. If you pull out, we have options. And that is one of the contingency plans on the economic front. Because if, I don't know, Landon just correct me, to be a member of the International Monetary Fund, you have to be a member of the United Nations, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
No, not necessarily. It's not. Everyone is a member, but it's not a requirement.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, if they're withdrawing from United Nations, what if the next step is they're going to withdraw from the International Monetary Fund? That is a big, big thing coming. And if they do that, they're idiots, because they're gonna be like putting an accident on the right there.
So one thing I have concern from Canada's point of view is that Canada's loose confederation is a significant problem for Canada, right? Trade, if Canada wants to protect itself and manage itself, the barriers of trade between provinces are extraordinary, right? There are provinces that actually trade through the U.S. because it's easier to go through the U.S. and back than it is to go across Canadian things. So one of the things I would urge Canada to do is to consider trying to reduce trade barriers within Canada. I think it's very important for Canadians to try to, as this is a friendly suggestion, and it is a case, going in to a province and looking at that province has bans against products from other provinces or makes it so difficult is a problem that I think it would behoove Canada to try to solve.
I think so this is something that I think is interesting. I don't disagree with you, and I think Canada is making moves in that direction.
I hope so.
So, and the reason I think that is because there was a meeting recently that happened due to Trump's rhetoric, due to Trump signing. The tariffs are going in February 1st, as far as I know. They're beginning. So I'm gonna go pick up a bunch of fucking ginger ale before it fucking ramps through the roof. But one of the issues that is noticeably problematic in Canada, which is, unfortunately, we are very heftily tied to America, and one of the things that I applauded Trudeau for doing in his term, up until recently, where he has resigned, which we should talk about. That's a totally different show. We should absolutely talk about that, and I'm looking forward to that conversation, because we talked about that before, but it's not for right now. There is a he is moving a little bit away from America and reaching out to other countries. Canada currently right now has the most, if not if not the most, pretty close free trade open agreement trading practices with the most number of other countries beside amongst themselves. We have gone out of our way to untangle ourselves a little bit from the American system. Have we fully succeeded? No, absolutely not. There's still more to be done.
Hard. It'll happen over time, but it'll be
and we also don't necessarily want to. On a good day,
Yes.
we love America. We don't want to not trade with you guys at all. That would be absurd. But the way things are going, we're gonna not have much of a choice in the matter. But with the tariffs being announced, et cetera, there was all the premiers. So for anybody who doesn't know, those are basically the equivalent of the governors of the states. All of our provinces and territories have a representative, and that representative belongs to whatever party. All of those people got together, regardless of what party they were part of, and agreed that this is a problem. So notably, Trudeau made a statement. Doug Ford, who's the conservative premier of Ontario, made a statement. The conservative premier of, I believe, Nova Scotia, if I remember correctly, and all agreed. Both and New Brunswick, BC, who is NDP, all came to an agreement that no, we are going to work together on this regardless. Party the country over politics, the party over
That's
personal.
Very encouraging
thing.
spot.
Which is a really good way to be in. So I'm really hoping that does enable us to open trade amongst and open more free trade amongst our provinces as a way to help counteract the tariffs coming from America. And 1 and 2 notable outliers for this agreement of being pro-Canada is the conservative Prime Minister of fucking Alberta, Danielle Smith, this absolute bitch, and guess who her butt buddy is? Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And oh my god, when fucking Carney announced that he was gonna run, the Conservative polling did this. So the Conservatives were way up here, and the Liberals were way down here because they were doing this identity politics shit where Trudeau's the bad guy, suddenly did this. The Conservatives are here, and the Liberal Party is right here in the fucking polling.
They're like, oh shit, they're catching up.
Well, and the problem is this doesn't include the NDP, which are here, the Green Party, which are here, and the Bloc, which are here. Which, if you include all 3 of these, which have agreed to work against Poilievre because everybody hates him, suddenly.
So I have a friend of mine who asked to remain anonymous, who's a Canadian MP. And this person told me that they were contacted by the radical conservative Bloc. Bloc is actually a fairly hardcore conservative, just happened to be.
Oh, you mean the Bloc? Yeah, like the Quebec,
the Bloc. And they said the conservative Bloc came to them to coordinate response because Orange Man had so pissed them off.
Oh yeah, the Bloc are pissed.
Set aside stuff there, and I hope that unity in Canada can work to Canada's.
It's nationalism versus nationalism. The Bloc are super nationalist about their identity, and so it's really amusing to me to see the Bloc being like, "Oh no, fuck you."
but here's an interesting question that I want to see is that will the for example. So, because Kipi has been pretending to be Orange Man's buddy and MAGA Canada.
And friends with Elon Musk and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Will the party leadership of NDP and Liberal Party condemn him for his MAGA ties when it comes time for elections? Or will they pretend like it's not? This is going to be this is an interesting test.
I think for two. Okay, so I think the answer already exists. First off, they have already condemned him even a good number of people in his own party, such as Doug Ford, who, by the way, yesterday announced he was going to try and pull an election, which is like obvious grab for power is obvious. Maybe don't, and I really hope it doesn't go the way he hopes it does. But regardless, a good number.
So
If Doug Ford in Canada, the premier of the conservative premier of Ontario, actually wants to demonstrate that he cares about the country more than his position of power, he needs to run for conservative leader and split the Conservative Party into two. Back into two as it belongs. That's what he should do if he gives a shit.
And I know that the NDP and the Liberals won't support PP, but will they, as part of the campaign, condemn PP for being MAGA and being
they've already done that, but technically election season hasn't started yet, so
yes, but it has.
Will they continue to do it?
People know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a test. Will the political elites say PP, Orange Man, bad? And I hope it does, but that's a open question. Second thing I say, if I also talk about Australia, in my opinion, Australia is the most corrupt first world nation in the world by far. Australia, and Australia has a big problem. Some of it goes with people like Rupert Murdoch and his control of the media. Some are people like Reinhardt and the mining company.
I see what you're saying.
You want to get bounced out of power? Just suggest to Australians that they should own their own resources, and the mining company of comments will get people like King Big Ears to come in and eject you. Right? It is the corruption, and this is somebody who visits Australia on a regular basis, that works at the Australian government. The corruption in Australia needs to be addressed, and I hope they are able to do so.
I think one thing that I will leave on for Canadian politics is if you are a conservative and you don't agree with Poilievre, you need to write to Doug Ford specifically and tell him you want him to lead a secondary party. Because if you do that, he'll do it. He's an egotistical fat fuck. He is gorged himself.
Literally.
Figuratively and literally, he has gorged himself on the money and the notoriety and just slapped up at the tit of public appeal. All you have to do is give him a fucking excuse and make him think he has a fighting chance, and that motherfucker will be like, fuck that guy. He'll do it. Do it. If you're a conservative, please, I urge you. I'm not even conservative. I'll go fucking write the guy and be like, oh, do this thing.
So the
we do need to wrap up.
Do we?
Yeah, we need to wrap up. We're at 3 hours.
Okay. So the Ford family is a bunch of
Tories,
poser goobers that really need to but I understand your point, and I hope that Canada is able to do. To pull together.
Last words, Landon.
I think also I want to thank Canada for its fight against Putin, and it's done extraordinary damage to Putin's oligarchs. Probably the thing that, again, Canada's on the front line of D-Day. Well, guess what? Canada's on the front line of the war against Putin. Canada has done extraordinary damage to Putin's oligarchs and has given... because they have a very high degree of skill in economic forensics, in finding where the money goes, right? That seems to be as skilled in the current government, and I hope they continue to do so, because the world owes Canada a great deal of debt in tracking down how the sanction running and other sort of things that Putin has been trying to do to fund his war against the Ukraine.
Maanyaa, last words?
Yeah, Americans watch the next 4 years like a hawk, and please don't depend on someone else to do the job. If you think you want to voice something, it's time to pick up that phone. It's time to pick up that phone. Don't discuss it in a bar or in a restaurant. Call your local, representatives and discuss it with
Or
them.
write a letter.
Or
Write a letter
invite them to a
with pen and
bar
paper.
or a restaurant and coffee shop, and then sit down and discuss it with them. You want to be part of the democracy. You have to now. This is the time, and you have to work for it. And you can no longer sit on the sidelines and be like, "Oh, I wanted that. Why didn't that happen?"
Absolutely.
You don't have that luxury, I'm afraid.
Well
So yeah,
said.
if you want
And
to come on
and I would encourage you to
or
write a
social media and
handwritten
say,
letter.
"Oh, why is this happening?
Be-
It's unfair."
She can't
Make
hear you.
sure your local representatives know that, and you've had that conversation with them. So it's very important now. Those are my messages.
Yeah. So Banya, very, very good point. And I would encourage you to also use pen and paper handwritten letters. You realize, that typically only 1 in 10,000 people now write a member of Congress, but you want to get the staff's attention.
Well, the staff
Write a
needs to
handwritten
get with the
letter with a really
times.
with a little sort of two TLDR saying here's the executive summary of what this letter is, right? And the staffer can look at it, understand your position, and give it the likelihood a member of Congress will see that, and it will matter, right? The number of people who don't write their member of Congress, their mayor, their governor, is extraordinary. So as Maanyaa said, get involved, because this is also part of the system, right? To be part of the system, not part of the I can't do anything, because you have ability to do so.
I think that there are more options than part of the system or you can't do anything. There are more options than this. And be aware that, honestly, for a lot of people, this is going to be a matter of life and death. For a lot of people, this is going to be a matter of whether or not they get their health care or they die. For a lot of people, this is going to be whether or not they get beaten in the street because they're LGBTQ+. That whether or not they die based on whether or not they're women because they got pregnant. So
just one last line.
What does last words even mean to you fucking people? Go.
Find out who are the members of the electoral college. Yeah. Find out. Just find out and find out what they think about all this.
Well, they voted for
you should know who are the members of the electoral college for your state.
Yeah.
That's saying.
And by the way, try to become part of a slate, the next slate. You can be someone who actually votes for a president or vice president.
On the other hand, anarchy. I mean, let's not mince words and pretend that the American system was working as intended or the way that people ever wanted it to work. All right, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, instead of viewing this as like an abject failure, which it is, look at failure as an opportunity. You want it to be different.
The system is failing, so try to fix it.
Take the opportunity. Take the opportunity to be like, everyone disliked this, and be like, hey, here's a really good time to get these people who really dislike this on my side to make these changes. Be convincing, be out there, and understand the arguments. If you want to learn more about argumentation, come and join us on our philosophy channel. Share, and subscribe.
And watch. And be very mindful and watch when locales like Orange Man say the word what.
Yeah, listen, Dapper's thing is going live. Go check out Dapper. Go subscribe to Dapper. Subscribe, like, share this here. If you want to join in the conversation, join us we'll all be in the comment section down below, so feel free to tag us, do whatever. We'll be here. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Get this channel off the ground into the stratosphere. Regardless, thank you for joining us. We gotta get out of here. We'll be back doing this at the end of February, and if you want to catch our Volcano show, that is going to be happening on the first Friday of the month. Philosophy is going to be on the Saturday, and various in between. I believe the next show is going to be the Fight the Flat Earth is going to be here, and Reason to Doubt is going to be here talking to us about nuclear energy, because, hey, guess what? That's actually a big deal of politics. Bye!
Bye.